Hello everybody, my name is Markiplier and welcome to Buried. Now this is going to be a different type of Let's Play because this is an interactive story. And it could be considered a game by many, and I consider it to be a game, but also it involves narration, no physical actions to be taken, and a lot of choices that determine your ending. I don't even know how many endings are in this game, but it's a branching narrative that covers 5 chapters, and it could be something really in depth. So let's begin. There's no time to wait around. We've got a lot of choices to make. Also, the thing about these interactive stories is while the visuals may be limited in terms of pictures and text, the audio is where it's really at. So I recommend you guys put on headphones, turn up your audio, and get ready for a nice story with Markiplier. I open my eyes and the first thing I want to do is scream. I'm flat on my back and everything seems to hurt. The trees overhead look familiar. It's a clear night sky, almost beautiful. Except for the fact that this means I've been out cold for at least 6 hours. But there's something wrong. I don't remember what, but something happened and my head, my God, my head hurts. And a ringing in my ears. Was there an accident? An explosion, I think. I remember Dennis screaming, but after that I can't remember. As I sit up, I notice that my hard hat has been thrown off. I look around the area, but it's not here. It feels strange to go anywhere without my hard hat, but I've got to find the other members of the crew. They could be in danger. So I say, you might waste time looking for the hard hats, so it's best just to go for the crew. You've already been through an explosion and you survived, so I know this guy's tough. I know that I'm tough. I decide that my hat can wait until I figure out what's going on. I get up and take a look around the logging site. I smell something burning and don't hear any engines running. Wait, something isn't right. Was it the bulldozer? Maybe the damn thing overheated for the last time. Maybe the engine finally blew. What a mess. Well, maybe I'm jumping to conclusions. Only one way to find out, I guess. I walk over to the center of the logging site and don't like what I see. Dead bodies? I'm guessing it's gonna be dead bodies. Oh, that's not good. Ooh, shit. The logging site looks like a bomb was detonated right in the center. I don't know where to start. The one load we'd managed to stack on a truck for the day is overturned. The trailer bent and the logs hanging off the back. Where the hell is everyone? My head is killing me and this ringing in my ears. I can't hear anything. Not birds, not my footsteps, nothing. It makes me wonder if I hit my head after my hard hat flew off. I run through a quick mental checklist to make sure my brain is still working. My name is Roger Hastings. I'm 41 years old. The year is 2017. I own a small logging camp, and we've been logging in this strip of Kentucky woodland for almost a month now. Okay, so my brain works. That's a relief. But it also makes me fearful, because something is certainly not right here. I look around the logging camp, my mind trying to figure out what has happened. Just about every piece of equipment has been overturned or tilted. Okay, so would it be more important to look at the debris or look at the truck? I mean, we can see the truck. But I think looking at the debris would give a clue to actually what happened here. At least that's my conclusion. There are bits of debris everywhere. There are fragments of the 5-gallon bucket I keep our work rags in, a loose saw chain, and an overturned gas canister. Had there been an explosion, all the fuel on site would have started a fire, but there's no charring, no burning, nothing. I walk through the area where Dennis had been working. From the looks of it, he'd been moving slowly. He'd only taken out 4 trees today. His metal lunchbox was open, an indicator that he had been taking an early break, but he's not here. No one is here. Where the hell is everyone? I could try to make a call on my cell phone, but his battery's already running really low. Not that it matters, the reception is crap out here. So it looks like calling someone on the cell phone might actually be a bad idea, all things considered, because it seems, to me anyway, that that's obviously not going to work because the reception is bad and I might save my phone battery for something else. So I'm going to yell out. I'm gonna yell and see if anybody nearby. Hey guys! Where is everyone? Tony, Dennis, Frank, Joe! But their names fall flat among the wreckage. I get nothing back other than scaring away a few birds overhead. I might as well start walking and try to find some answers. The highway is almost a mile back through the woods, down the gravel road we used to reach the site. Maybe the crew ran that way for help. But why would they have left me? Were they scared? Out of sorts? Maybe I can catch up to them. But with my truck turned over on its side, it looks like I'll be walking. My God, I can't even remember what I was doing before waking up on my back. Wait, what's that underneath the bulldozer? Oh my God, it's a leg. It has to be either Tony or Dennis. The dozer looks unstable, like it might roll some more. Might not be safe to get close, but at the same time, I can't just leave him there. Well, all things considered, they might be dead, but you know what? It's worth a risk to go look. I'm thinking. Hey! I yell. Are you okay? Are you alive? I skip over the stray logs and wrecked equipment to get closer. Seeing the dozer teeter makes me think maybe I should have grabbed my hat. I can see a bit more of the leg. The jeans are soaked in blood. I recognize the work boots. It's clearly Tony. His leg is bent at an impossible angle, nearly crushed flat. The closer I get, the more apparent it becomes that Tony didn't survive. Best not to pull the body out. I mean, I get it's his friend, it's his coworker, but he's obviously dead. There's no use in trying to pull his body out to try to get the dozer will tip over. No need to do that. There's nothing I can do for him now. I start to back away slowly. In my shock, I stumble back, suddenly tripping over one of the stray logs. I bang my head hard on one of the logs as I fall. I instantly feel a massive lump forming on the back of my head. Damn, why didn't I grab my hard hat? But what hurts more is the realization that Tony is dead. Looking at him, I feel something rising up in my throat. I don't know if it's a scream or vomit, but I have to push it away. If I lose my cool right now, there are too many questions that will go unanswered. Shit, I can't believe this. Tony, he had 2 boys. He coached his oldest son's baseball team. He was the hardest worker I had and one of the most honest and reliable men I knew. This isn't right. I can't stay here. I have to find Dennis, Frank, and Joe. I have to find out what happened here. So I made a goof and didn't grab a hard hat, but I think maybe things might have been different if I didn't. As I walk through the stacks of logs from the last week or so, everything feels frozen. This high-pitched sound in my ears, it's terrible. It keeps happening every few seconds like it's coming from far away. I can't help but wonder, is it my ears? Or is it something else? The silence out here is creepy, and there's a smell, like the atmosphere after a bad summer storm. I might as well admit it, I'm a little scared. Everyone is missing and it's dead quiet out here. There doesn't even seem to be a breeze to rustle the leaves and branches. My right knee hurts like hell. My head was hurting so bad before that I never even noticed the pain in my knee. I must have heard it during the what? Accident or... Wait, is that Dennis? I see him sitting on the ground, motionless, about 30 feet away. You know what? Best not to sneak up on him. I'm gonna yell in case it's not Dennis. Hey! Are you a monster, Dennis? Can you hear me? Dennis lets out a shout like someone waking from a nightmare. He then looks back at me from the ground. Yeah, Roger, I can hear you. He hollers back as I head over to him. Dennis is built like a wrestler and has the tough personality to match. But in this moment, he looks disoriented and even a little anxious. So I'm glad to see him. The fear on his usually confident face is alarming. What the hell happened? What's going on? He asks. I'm not willing to bet that it's an explosion. I'll just say I don't know. Don't know, the crew is missing. Tony's dead. Missing? Where do you think they went? I'm not sure, I say, but it has me pretty freaked out. Something's not right here. Still sitting on the ground, he looks around the woods as if he's just now understanding the severity of the situation. The equipment was overturned, the dozers too, I say, wiping my forehead. You okay? I ask him. Yeah, just shaken up. Me too. This might be the most intimate conversation Dennis and I ever had. Well, he and I have always been on good terms. We've never been particularly close. I've always respected him, though. Sure, he's come to work a few times looking like he'd been in a bar fight the night before. But I've also seen him do an enthusiastic impression of a dinosaur as he played with Tony's kid while they waited for their dad to finish up his shift. It's then that it hits me. Dennis and Tony were good friends. I'm not sure I want to rattle him with the news of Tony's death right now. Not before we know what's going on, but he has the right to know. Oh. Yeah, you don't withhold that kind of information from someone. You don't. You just don't. Tony's dead. You were up front with Dennis about Tony. Dennis's eyes fixate on me, startled. He was crushed under the dozer, I say. Dennis pauses for a moment like he's trying to understand what I said. His eyes narrow and his bottom lip quivers. Shit, he says. And I can tell that he's fighting back tears. He and Tony had been tight, almost like brothers. Hey, he adds quickly as if trying to escape reality. Did you see that light? No. What did you see? I don't even know, Roger. It was like this flare of white light. It came right up out of the ground. Like an explosion. So there was an explosion, I say. Maybe it was some equipment or... This was no equipment. This huge ball of light came right out of the damn ground. What did it look like? It looked like a ball of light, so might as well ask where it went. He already said what it looked like. Where'd it go? It just shot up into the sky until it was out of sight. When? I'm not sure. But I'd finished about 10 trees for the day and was about to top one. That's when it happened. You were almost done with 10 trees, I ask? Yeah, I wouldn't want to take a lunch break until I was done. And that's when that light blew up. Why? You don't believe me? No. I believe you, Dennis. I believe you 100%. You believe Dennis's story. Yeah. He saw what he saw. I think to myself, he has no reason to lie about this. My God, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. But if I'm being honest, it scared me pretty bad. And if it's all the same to you, I'd like to get the hell out of here. We both stand up and start heading towards the road. It was until we start moving that I see Dennis is wounded. His right side is coated with blood, the red seeping through his blue work shirt. There's splatters of it here and there, but also a very large red splotch that makes me worry. If I ask him if he's going to be in a lot of pain, the big tough guy ain't going to say he is. I'm just going to ask how he got it. Like, what happened? I'm not sure. I must have gotten thrown or hurt somewhat from that light. It's then that I notice the strange ringing noise is still filling the air. Hey, do you hear that high-pitched ringing noise every once in a while? Dennis looks scared when I ask him this question, and he just nods. I thought it was just me, he says. He looks out of sorts and uncertain. I've never seen him like this before. It's obvious that he's looking for some reassurance. Even though I'm his boss, there's something very unnerving about this. We'll be okay. It's probably nothing. There's no reason to worry the guy. It's obviously he's shaken up. There's no reason to make him paranoid about whatever the noise is. I mean, it is what it is. We'll get to the bottom of it no matter what, but he needs some comfort after the bad news. Let's be realistic, I tell myself. I might as well try to be empathetic. Out here in the middle of these woods, the ringing could be anything. Maybe a car alarm from through the woods or something. Still, even my passive comment seems to have reassured Dennis. He looks a bit calmer and more relaxed. We both start moving forward and don't say another word. Did you try to call Frank? I know he had his cell on him today. Not yet. Luckily, I still have some battery left. I pull out my cell and call Frank, happy I didn't make that call to Dennis earlier. It rings, but he doesn't pick up. But when I hear his phone go off behind the stack of logs, Dennis and I give each other a look. As the phone goes to voicemail, I hang up and we walk behind the logs to find Frank's phone on the ground, abandoned. We look around for Frank, but find nothing, not a single trace. It's then that I notice something really odd. A 10-foot wide hole in the ground right near where the phone was. But there's no stray piles of removed dirt or rocks. It's clean, smoothly dug, cutting into the earth. Wide, but only a few feet deep. It looks so natural, like the ground was just deleted. No shovels or diggers used. Dennis walks over to it. This looks like the same kind of hole where I saw that light come from the ground. I say nothing. My mind is spinning, but I don't know what to think. We need to get out of here, Dennis mutters. At this moment, that ringing noise carries through the forest again, sending a shiver down my spine. Dennis is right. There's something strange going on, and we might not be safe here. But that ringing sound could be a clue to where the rest of the crew went. To be perfectly honest, we can't run away from the situation. We're already in the middle of it. If you're in the middle of it, I guess it would be the first inclination to go to safety, but Frank is still out there, and he could be alive. Tony is dead, but we gotta find Frank. And the only clue that we got is checking out the sound. You decide to check out the sound. Something's not right. And if there's a mechanical noise like that, you think someone is out there, he asks? Maybe. I think we should at least check it out. They might be able to help. Yeah, you go right ahead, he says with a grin. I'll be waiting for you here. Better hurry, though. Dennis doesn't look like he's in the best shape to be trouncing around the forest, but we need some answers right away, too. I didn't know that we'd be splitting up. Splitting up is like the worst thing to do. But if I leave him here, is he gonna be okay? Best to stick together, but he is wounded. Man, this is a bad choice. I mean, if we were gonna get out of here, then he'd have to go anyway, so Dennis has gotta come. I can't leave him behind. No, you're coming with me. I bend over and hoist him up against my shoulder. He resists just barely and then gives in. He's looking at me like he's terrified of me now, making a moan in his throat. We start moving through the woods quickly. With no idea where the rest of the crew is, I worry they could be in danger. Every tree out here looks exactly the same. I grew up in the country and can find my way around the forest without much of a problem, but I'm feeling dizzy. I'm leaning against a tree when I see something that has no business being out here. Our logging crew has been out here for 3 weeks, and I've never seen it before. What is it? Something dastardly in the darkness. Whoa. It's a small building, sort of like a mixture of a shack and a bunker. It looks to be made of concrete, but moss, weeds, and plain old erosion make it look sort of mystical. It looks like something out of a demented version of a medieval fantasy movie. What the hell is this? Dennis asks. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna make a guess. I don't know. How would I know? You purchased this land, right, boss? Didn't you survey it? I certainly did, I say, getting a little defensive, but this wasn't here. Do you think the others maybe went in here? He asks nervously. Why would they do that? I don't know, but they aren't out here. If they aren't inside, they're probably dead. Like Tony. He looks at the ground as he says this. I want to go inside, not just to find my crew, but also to appease my curiosity. That ringing noise is coming from inside. But something about this place seems incredibly strange. Especially located all by itself out here. It simply doesn't belong. I wonder, do we knock or just go in? I can tell that he's trying to make a joke, but it falls flat. I'm starting to think his humor is a defense mechanism for his fear. We both look ahead, take a moment to realize what we're about to do, and start forward. We get no more than 3 feet closer when Dennis wobbles. Reach out to steady him. He's not going to ask for help. Big tough guy like that. I reach out quickly, straining my injured knee. I barely make it in time, grabbing him under his arms and keeping him from hitting the ground. I'm okay, he said. Just, can you help me walk for a little while? Just help me inside, please. I can't deny him his request. I've never seen him this weak, and it's a little uncomfortable to see. It makes me glad I decided to keep him with me. I help Dennis into the weird little building. The front door opens easily, even though there's clearly a lock on it. Maybe the lock was supposed to keep someone in. It's hard to tell. I still hear that ringing noise. It's definitely coming from in there. Stretching out in front of me is a small interior to match the outside. The building is totally empty. There's a concrete floor and dingy, featureless walls. There are no windows, giving the place an even more isolated feel. Still, we hear the ringing noise coming from somewhere in here. It's louder now, more prominent. The interior seems confined at first, but a small set of concrete steps leads about 5 feet down, revealing a corridor. I don't know about you guys, but I'm enthralled with this. And I'm already seeing like how my choices could have drastically changed the story. And there's a lot of choices. It's a massive corridor, in fact. Like I'm in some kind of building underground. It seems to go on forever. This corridor is mostly dark with emergency lights every 10 feet or so. I assume we're now underground because this corridor extends far beyond the walls of the building we entered. I realize that someone might not appreciate finding us here. Well, we can't exactly walk quickly because, Dennis is hurt. So, might as well go quiet. I feel like a ghost. Like I truly have no business here. Dennis leans on me for support. We move slowly, our feet not making a sound. If anyone is in here, I want to make sure they don't hear us. We tiptoe forward as softly as we can. As I carry Dennis to the far end of this otherwise featureless place, I see a flight of concrete stairs leading down. I have to set Dennis down on the floor. His weight is killing me. Dennis, are you okay? Stop worrying, man. I'll be okay. I just need a minute to rest. But looking at him, I'm not too sure. I can still hear the ringing noise every so often coming from somewhere in here. I look ahead at the concrete stairs, pointing towards them so that Dennis sees them. Can you make it down those stairs, I ask? He stands up slowly and is visibly making an effort to not fall back down again. Yeah, he says. Sounds a little irritated. He starts for the stairs without me and I have no choice but to follow. We approach the stairs and by just looking at them, I get the sense that we're crossing some sort of line here. There may very well be no going back. Well, might as well keep moving forward then. Not much of a choice to be. Ooh, that reminds me of SCP. What was it, the stair one? 087B? As I head down the stairs, I notice that they look aged. The damn ringing noise is somewhere below, louder than ever. I feel like I'm walking down into the cellar of a haunted house. The light becoming scarce as the stairs take a slight turn. I can feel the temperature drop. Dennis makes it just a few steps down before he's leaning on the wall. He's breathing like he just finished a marathon. I gotta give him a break. He's pushing himself. He's probably losing blood. We gotta take a break. Let's take a break, I say, putting my hand towards his shoulder to help steady him. Dennis lets out a sigh. Thanks. I don't feel too great, boss. As we both squat down on the stair, my mind seems to lock in on the unknown fate of the rest of my crew. Frank is married, and I met his wife a few times. A nice woman with a huge laugh. My heart sags a bit when I realize I might never get to hear him belting out a classic rock tunes during lunch break. Joe. Well, I don't know too much about him. He's 22 years old and is considering community college. His folks are deadbeats, so he'd been providing for himself since the age of 16. Maybe I can still find him. I still get to hear Frank singing in his deep, baritone voice after a few too many drinks. After a few moments, Dennis says, "All right, let's keep going." We both stand up, leaning on each other. I have to make Dennis stay behind me as I stick my foot out in search of the next step. I can't help feeling like a child as a very powerful fear seizes me. I'm expecting a monster to reach out of the darkness, slicing into my throat. After what feels like forever, we come to the bottom of the stairs. We're closer to that ringing noise now. A door sits securely in the wall and looks just as out of place down here as I feel. A sliver of light seeps through, illuminating the area. The door has what looks like a panel with a lot of labels and lights. Small embossed print above the panel says, Level 1 Entrance Gate, Transport Sector, and there's a button with no label. Best not to be pushing random buttons. Let's inspect the panel first. The panel looks like some kind of diagnostic or alert system of some kind. Each label meant to communicate some status. Lockdown engaged, experiment in progress, shutdown engaged. All these appear to be off, but one of the phrases has a slowly blinking red light next to it. The only powered light on this whole thing. Abnormal entity breach. What the hell? I slowly push the door open, then Dennis suddenly steps in front of me, taking the lead. Let's go, he says. I want to find out what the hell this place is. As Dennis walks through, that ringing or beeping or whatever it was gets a little louder. The door closes behind us with a click. I can't help but notice the wobble in Dennis's step as he lets out a grunt. You sure you're healthy enough to keep going, I ask. It doesn't matter. I don't want to be in the woods right now. He seems scared, something I've never seen before. Angry, yes. Upset, yes. But Dennis is never scared. What did you see? What did he see in those woods? I don't know what it was, boss. It was like someone had left a radio on, crackling. But we don't have any radios at the site. I don't know. It was like something in the forest was moving. I gave him a doubtful look and he cast his eyes to the ground, frustrated. I know how it sounds, but I know what I felt. It was like walking into a funeral parlor, feeling death and gloom everywhere. I've never been so preoccupied with my own fear that I nearly forgot about the ringing noise. It just became background noise. We took a few more steps and I can now see where we are. It makes no sense. Yeah, another thing that simply seems out of place. The shapes and muted colors of metal are easy to identify, but it just doesn't belong here. End of Chapter 1. Respect the dead. You and 36% of players left Tony's body where you found it. You and 76% of players were upfront about Dennis about Tony's death. You and 55% told Dennis you believed his story. You and 75% of players went to investigate the ringing sound. You and 64% of players decided to bring Dennis with you. That's fascinating. We're standing on the thin platform of what looks like a fancy subway. The rails look well used, but not old. There's small overhead lights that are very dim, as if they're running on emergency power. The dim overhead lights are a blessing, but the size of the place makes me feel vulnerable. Staring ahead, the tunnel seems to be endless. It's almost dizzying. But there's a small light further ahead and then a space that breaks the monotony of the tunnel's curved surface. Another platform, maybe. Why are we in a subway tunnel? Dennis, what do you think of this? Yeah, Dennis seems to know a bit of something that he's not telling me. Looks like we're waiting for the D train, Dennis says with a deadly sounding cackle. Also, the ringing noise is louder down here. It's much more solid now and there's some other sound. Something like the faint hum of machinery. What's your take on this, boss? You think we're safe down here? Not at all, is what I think to myself, but I don't want to let Dennis see that I'm rattled. While he seems to be limping along much better than we first stumbled into this place, he's still in rough shape. I'm leading him here. And I should probably make him feel confident in that. See, I'm not sure. This is creepy. Yeah, we'll be fine. You know, I want to reassure him that we're going in the right direction. I mean, why wouldn't we be fine? The abnormal entity is on the outside of the building, not in with us. So you reassured Dennis. We're too far in to go back. Besides, if we get caught for trespassing, I'm pretty sure we'd slide by. We're good. You're in pain. And we've got to find the rest of our crew. They could still be here somewhere. Dennis nods and looked reassured, albeit weak and miserable. From the looks of it, we can go either right or left. The left is slightly lit, but the right, not so much. This makes me uneasy because I get the sense that one wrong turn in a place like this would have us wandering for hours. Suddenly, I jerk my head to the right as I hear the unmistakable sound of someone walking. Did you hear something? I asked Dennis, my eyes straining to see if anything in the darkness. Not sure. Maybe it sounded like footsteps. I wait a moment, but the sound doesn't come again. So those are our options. To the left are flickering lights indicating that we'll at least be able to see. There's also a hum of machinery, a sign of life. To the right is just darkness, but we also heard footsteps in that direction. You know what? That may seem spooky, but footsteps? Literally, footsteps means it can't be that monstrous. And maybe they're just scared because they hear people talking. So let's go right. You decided to go into the darkness. Maybe not a good idea, but here we go. If there's anyone here, they're worth speaking to. Right it is. Yeah, I mean, honestly, we're looking for help. We're looking for anything. We need someone to talk to. And if there's someone here, then I want to find them. They could be our crew. As we leave the glow of electric lights, things instantly start to feel a bit more sinister. I look at Dennis's injuries again. The gash along his side is inflamed now. And while the bleeding seems to have stopped, the amount that is soaked into his pants and shirt is beyond alarming. How much further can you walk? Can you keep going? Yeah, let's walk into the deep dark tunnel that has no business being here. He's right. The darkness we find ourselves in feels thick, like walking in syrup. I'm reminded of the fear I felt as a child when I had to go into the basement to fetch tools for my dad. I was sure there were snakes or spiders or monsters of unimaginable horror lurking down there. I feel that same way walking here, through the tunnel. That's when I see a human figure, far in the back of the tunnel, silhouetted in the faint light at the end. He's standing on some other platform up ahead and likely can't see us. It looks like he might be holding a gun, but it's too dark to be sure. There's a risk in calling out to them, but at the same time, if they hear a human voice, why would they shoot first? Why would they shoot first? Why would they? Why would they shoot first? Might be holding a gun. I'm willing to bet that it's something else. Yeah, why not? Hey, who's there? I'm willing to trust. My voice echoes through the tunnel, bouncing endlessly off the falls. The figure turns towards us and freezes like a deer sensing danger. Why the hell did you do that? We don't know who that is. We don't know where we are. I don't know. Maybe he can answer some questions. But that doesn't happen. The person can't see us in the dark. And after a moment, the figure rushes away through a door up ahead. Well, at least he didn't shoot us, so that's kind of a good thing. I mean, he's scared for a reason, but why was he standing alone on the platform anyway? Very confusing. As we head further into the tunnel, we reach another platform. There's lights coming from the platform, but like the overhead lights, they're dim, red emergency lights. I start to wonder if the explosion at the logging site caused a power outage in this place, whatever this place is. The ringing noise that I originally thought was in my head is getting louder. I'm starting to think it's some sort of alarm. When we come to the large open area ahead in the tunnel, it further resembles a subway station. As much as I try to ignore the reality, it's undeniable. We stumbled into some sort of high-tech transportation system that is buried beneath the forests of Kentucky. It makes absolutely no sense and creates an entirely new sort of fear as to what the hell we've walked into. I notice that Dennis seems confident, though. When we reach the large opening, we have to climb over the rails up onto the platform. I have to help Dennis over the rails, but then up to the small utility ladder that is bolted into the opposite side of the travelway. When he reaches the large opening area resembling a subway waiting area, he collapses on the floor and lets out a heaving breath. You know what? This is ridiculous. I quit. I'm not going any further. On top of worrying about my crew and the madness of where we are, I'm not in the mood for Dennis to act like a baby. I don't think Dennis is going to respond well to harsh criticism. He seems to respond to reassurance. We can do this, Dennis. We can do this. I'm not the one with the gash in my side, I think to myself, so I decide to cut him some slack. Damn, boss. I'm sorry. It's okay. I don't know how you're still on your feet, if I'm being honest. Stubbornness, he says with a weak laugh. You need a minute to rest? I ask as warmly as I can muster. No. If I sit down to rest, I'm afraid I might not get back up. Let's keep going while I can still go. I reach down to help him to his feet, and then we get ourselves up on the platform. Right in front of us, there's an entrance to a long hallway, exiting the platform area. It's at this point that I realize these red emergency lights might be on for someone else who is actually supposed to be here. Like that guy I saw earlier standing on the platform. Do I yell out or do I stay quiet? Well, I mean, I've been yelling nonstop thus far, so might as well announce my presence to all here. I don't know, what's the harm in yelling? We need help, we do. We desperately need help. I know it's not the smartest idea. Hello, anyone here? There's not much of an echo, my voice falls flat like a rock from the sky. I'm almost glad that I didn't get an answer. Hearing anything else in this hall of silence would have given me a heart attack. The emergency lights continue to flicker overhead, casting a sick sort of pinkish light on everything. My mind is racing with what sort of place this might be. It's obvious that it's meant to be a secret. And if it is supposed to be a secret, there was a power outage recently. Maybe most everyone has been evacuated. And then why was that one person still here? This thought does nothing to make me feel any better as we walk towards the platform exit. We step inside and it seems just as empty as every other place we've come through, weakly illuminated by more overhead lights. We're standing inside a hallway that looks surreal for a moment. Maybe it was a good idea, maybe it wasn't, I have no idea. The hallway reminds me of a hospital wing, but there's something not quite right about it. It's the first clean and tidy area I've seen since coming into the woods. It looks like it was recently in use despite the dim emergency lights overhead. There are chairs against the walls and the floor. It looks well cleaned, as do the walls. The ringing noise is definitely coming from here, and a small flashing red light along the ceiling seems to flash along with it. That ringing noise is an alarm, I say, only to confirm my own thoughts. But for what, Dennis asks. And then he asks a question that has been on my mind since I found the little building in the woods. What the hell is this place? We exchange a look that speaks volumes. We reach the end of the hallway and hear a sound like a large metallic grinding. This is followed by a clicking noise and then the unmistakable noise of a generator kicking on. Is power back? Has power been restored? Okay. Without a warning, the facility jolts to life. The red glow of the emergency lights is suddenly replaced by a bright white fluorescent one. The mechanical hum is oddly comforting. Somehow the power being back on urges us on. It's then that I notice the ringing noise has stopped. So it had been an alarm. Or for what? Just for the power failure? We head down the hallway, the electric hum of the lights sounding eerie overhead. Other than that, the place is dead quiet. The hall is about 100 feet long, with 2 main doors. One door opens onto a large room that looks like a conference room with a whiteboard and papers strewn about. Across the hallway is another door that looks like a laboratory of some sort. Dennis slumps against the wall in defeat and lets out a scary-sounding chuckle. Something funny, I ask, as a dark and brooding panic starts to grip me. Dennis just keeps chuckling as he slides down to the floor. I'm just gonna sit here while you look around, he says. There's a look in his eyes that reminds me far too much of a dead animal on the side of the road. Okay. That's weird. So do I enter the conference room or the lab? I feel like the lab might give me more answers? No, the lab would just confuse me. I wouldn't know what's going on in the lab, but the conference room might actually have some things that whoever was here was discussing. Cause I'm just a lumberjack. Like, I was just here to jack some lumber. So best to go to the conference room and try to get things in ways that I can understand them. A large table sits in the middle of the room. Lined with a series of chairs, it looks like something straight out of a showroom. A well-used whiteboard hangs on the wall, and there's scattered papers on the desks. Look at the papers, look at the whiteboard. Whiteboard would be the quickest way to get information. A few things are scribbled on the whiteboard, mostly formulas and names. But there are some things that are easy to understand, things that make my blood go cold. Subject 6, cause of death, embolism or aneurysm, or both. Ideas for new delivery mode, spherical liquid induced comatose state first, TerraCore Co., possible plutonium supplier. Let's look at the papers on the table. Most of the papers and printouts have codes and equations that go way over my head, but there are also handwritten notes that don't make me feel any better about our situation. I read through them and see scrawled notes that say things like, last experiment failed, overdose before transport, levels indicate cellular catabolism. More lead shielding in export suits? Measurements make no sense. Let Barksdale know about possible Higgs field fix. Outside in the hallway, I hear Dennis grunting. I head out of the room to see him still seated on the floor. But I don't get very far, because as I exit, a man comes rushing around the corner with an automatic rifle in his hands. Oh shit. Well, that's not good. Well, maybe I shouldn't have shouted out after this guy. It's hard to look beyond his rifle, but the man carrying it is young with messy dark hair. His skin is so pale that I wonder if he lives down here. He has the look of a guy who's been cooped up for a little too long. He doesn't seem to like the kind of person I trust with a gun in a stressful situation. As he sees us in the doorway, he screams and brings the gun up. It's aimed directly at my head. Dennis jumps up and stands next to me like he's ready to run for it. I recognize him by his height and build. He's the person I could barely see back in the dark hallway. Put your hands in the air! He's gonna shoot you! You can't close that distance! I put my hands in the air, surprised at how natural it feels to go into this surrendered state. Maybe it's because this feels like a dream. Maybe it's because I feel like I'll snap awake if a maniac pulls the trigger. Who are you and how did you get here? The man asks harshly. Before we can answer, he continues speaking. I don't recognize you. If you're here, you would have had to sneak by the security mics in the entrance hall. What? I ask, unable to think of anything else to say. Who are you? Did you do this? The man eyes us both and I see something in his eyes that unsettles me. He's scared, but there's something else. We're just loggers. We're loggers. Best to give him some details. His eyes look distant for a minute and then he says bullshit. But for some reason, I'm pretty sure he knows I'm telling the truth. Someone knocked the power out, the man says. It's back on now, but if it was out long enough, well, we're in a heap of trouble. Was it you? Who sent you? Look, we don't know what you're talking about. Something happened out in the woods. Are you alone? Are there others with you? The man asks, thrusting the gun in my face. How the hell did we get in this situation? I think to myself. If only I had left that damn ringing noise alone, we wouldn't be here. I'm not really sure if we want to give this guy any information yet. We don't know anything about him. Then again, he might have answers. Best to give him a reason why would we be down here. We need to rationalize our existence in his mind. We're new to him. It's obviously that he belongs here. I don't know why he's alone down here, but we're looking for our crew. We literally came down here looking for our crew. We have other crew members that we can't find. Your crew? He says, confused. If this man thinks that we're nuts, there's no telling what he might do. The fact that he looks a little crazy himself makes the situation even hairier. How'd you get in here? I point down the hall towards the subway. We came in that way. The doors weren't locked. His expression calms a bit, but I'm still very aware of the gun that is leveled less than a foot away from my face. Please, put the gun down. No, I'm not gonna grab his gun. Please, don't shoot me. You ask the man calmly to put his gun down. The only way I'm putting this rifle down is after I've blown your brains out. With that, he sticks the muzzle of the gun in my face. It's a childish move, a playground tactic at best, but it's sufficient to show me that he knows he's in control now. He then levels the rifle at Dennis, and I can only assume it's because his wounds make him appear to be the weaker of us. The man takes a shaky step forward. Dennis looks back and forth between the barrel of the gun and me, his eyes pleading for help. Step between I'm stepping between that. Yeah, I'm getting in the way. No way. Before I'm fully aware of what I'm doing, I step out in front of Dennis. The barrel of the rifle is nearly touching my chest now. Both Dennis and the man seem a little confused at my action, and I do my best to swallow down my fear. I don't know what's going on here, but we are here by mistake. Well, you have no business here. But now that the power's on, I think you might be too late anyway. For what, I ask. But he doesn't answer me. Instead, he steps forward and actually pushes me backwards with the end of his rifle. The man then repeats a question he asked before, one that makes no sense and honestly makes me think he might be a little crazy. Who sent you? You assholes from the Pentagon? I'm not sure how to take this question. Is this guy joking? Best not to be sarcastic. No, what the hell are you talking about? No, we're just loggers. Something blew up and my friend got hurt. We're looking for the rest of our crew. Likely story, but I see a flicker of recognition in his face that makes me think he might believe me. Still, his grip on the gun is as tight as ever, and the look on his face makes me think he'll shoot at any moment. You both just stand still. Sooner or later, someone will come along and I'll turn you over. He again thrusts the gun forward as if it had an invisible bayonet on it. There's no need for that. I have no guarantee that he won't pull the trigger. Look, we don't want any trouble. We're just as confused as you are. Then in a movement so fast that I just about miss it, Dennis lunges forward. I have no idea how he's moving so fast. Just 30 seconds ago, I was worried about how close to death he looked. But now that he's moving lightning fast, his left arm coming down on the barrel of the gun like a club. In the commotion, the man does pull the trigger. The booming noise is deafening, and there's a moment where I think I've been hit. It takes the clanging noise of the round tearing into the floor at my feet to help me realize that I've not been shot. I look to the floor and see where the shot missed my right leg by 3 inches. I'm paralyzed, in shock for a moment as Dennis and the man fight over possession of the rifle. There's a fire extinguisher on the wall. I could use it as a bludgeon, but I might not have enough time to grab it before Dennis is overpowered. No! Punch him! He's right there! Punch him! Punch him! Punch him! Punch that man! Dennis has the man pinned to the floor, but isn't strong enough to keep him down. As I fall to the floor to help, the barrel of the rifle swings by the front of my face, a reminder of how close I'd come to being shot. On my knees now, I deliver a hard, stiff punch to the man's face. I don't punch someone often, never really. I'm not usually the brawling type. Still, it is apparently effective. The man's head snaps back hard and his grip on the gun loosens. Dennis grabs the gun and falls to the floor, clearly winded and in pain. Our attacker is immobilized and I can feel a shift in the situation. Yet, although he's basically harmless now, I feel the need to pummel him, a desire that builds with each second I look at him. No. Come on now. One punch is enough. And awesome. Let's just take it easy. He's as stressed as we are. He's definitely out now, no threat. At least that's what I think. But he surprises me by mustering up one more swift kick in my direction, connecting with my forehead. Well, I should have had my hard hat now, shouldn't I? My eyelid swells to the size of a grape almost immediately. Seems like this last attack is more to spite me than to defend himself. I stumble back and ready myself for another round of blows, but he just slouches into the floor. He's done. Dennis instantly hands the rifle over to me, and I take it with shaking hands. I can't believe you stepped between me and that gun. He could have killed you. I was pretty sure he wouldn't. I say, although I had no such thing. Still, thanks, man. That was some heroic stuff. You would have done the same, right? Dennis says nothing. His eyes look to the floor. What do we do now, boss? We've come this far and I want answers. I sense that Dennis does too. I take a hard look at the man before I reply. If we get answers from this guy. No answers. I don't have any, he says. Next time I won't just hit you. Now get up. He obeys quickly, but his legs are wobbly and he leans against the wall for support. I can feel my swollen eyelid from where he kicked me earlier. I just hope it doesn't get so bad that it affects my sight. Okay, let's move, I say, pointing the gun further down the hallway. We've come this far and I'm not gonna let this guy stop us. We walk down the hallway until we come to an end. A single elevator waits for us. Its steel sliding doors larger than a normal elevator. So that's interesting. If I had gone easy on him, he hit me in the eye, but if I hadn't gone easy on him, maybe he wouldn't have been able to give us any answers because he would have been completely unconscious. But at least now he's awake. I don't know if that's a good thing. But I mean, we're all in this together. We're obviously not enemies here. Well, that doesn't look good. That looks sinister. Oh boy. Before I get into the elevator with this guy, I think it's wise to learn a bit more about him. I can tell he's making him uncomfortable for me to have the gun. What's your name, I ask. Marcus. And you work here? It's clear that he doesn't want to answer, but he gives us a little nod. We're looking for the rest of our crew. Any idea where they might be? No, he says curtly, not bothering to elaborate. There's gotta be some useful info we can get out of this guy. I just need to know how to dig for it. I need a first aid kit from my friend here. Where might I find one? Down on the second floor, but we can't go down there. What's on level 2? Tell us what's on level 2. He looks at me like I'm an idiot. You must be aware you're inside a classified government facility, he says. It makes sense, but I want to doubt it. Well, I'm sure our government will want you to help me save my friend. So take me to the first aid kit. I can't. You don't have clearance. Hell, I barely have clearance. Then, seemingly to himself, he mutters, I make this place run. And not even a thank you, just a bunch of restricted access rooms that I'm not allowed to go into with a frickin' chaperone. We're going to that first aid kit, I interrupt. I could lose my job! I wonder for a moment what sort of trouble I could get him in for hitting a government employee. This makes me glad I took it easy on him. Then again, he had come at us with a rifle. It makes me think that things have gone terribly wrong in this place. And the explosion in the woods, or whatever the hell happened, might be linked to it all. I need to convince him to take us to the second floor, but I'm not sure if it would be more productive to threaten him or ask for sympathy. Well, threatening him might work, but he's obviously scared. We obviously have a gun. I don't even know if sympathy would work on this guy. He seems really, really high-strung and seemingly, okay, from the little bit that I've seen of him, he seems like a guy that takes his job very seriously, even though he feels like he's been unappreciative. So maybe threatening him would be the more direct way. But also, once he realizes who we are and that we actually are saying who we are, threatening him might not be the best option. So we could just literally ask, we are in trouble. If this doesn't work, then I know he's not gonna work. Look, it hasn't been the best day. We're just trying to find out what's going on to find our crew to survive. I know that this isn't a normal situation down here. It looks like all your protocols have been blown to hell. Can't you help us out? He looks at me sternly, weighing his options. Okay, he says. Thank you, I say. With an untrusting stare, Marcus walks to the elevator door, approaching a small keypad by the doors. He punches in a numerical code on the keypad and we hear a slight mechanical hum behind the steel doors. After a few seconds of angry glances and frightened sneers from Marcus, the elevator arrives. The steel doors slide open with a whisper, revealing the interior. Well, I guess we're going down. Apparently asking nicely does work occasionally, even though if it gets you punched in the face. Maybe that wouldn't have worked if I had pummeled him. Maybe he would have been left behind if I had pummeled him. It's exceptionally well lit and looks to be made of stainless steel. I half expect the thing to take off at the speed of light. There's another small keypad on the front right panel by the door with the options of 3 sub-level 4s. It looks like this elevator doesn't go to the surface. So after we get a first aid kit for Dennis, how do we get out of here? We can't leave. Once the power comes back on, the whole place was put on lockdown. What? Can't you override it? No, it's to prevent anything from getting out. I can't. Marcus looks as deflated as Dennis. We can't get out. We're stuck here. Dennis leans into the corner and almost falls onto the floor. The struggle for the rifle really took a lot out of him. I can see that much on his face. Slowly, we start to move down. The hum and grind of the car's motors fills the space. Let's not be hopeless about it. We're not stuck here forever. But what can you do is a little antagonistic. So I'll just ask. If I say we're stuck here forever, he might actually give us more information and be like, no, stupid. So we're stuck here forever? Marcus scowls at me. I think it's a fair question. Doesn't seem unreasonable to assume he won't be able to help us get out. We'll find somebody with access codes and they'll be begging me to figure out how to lift the lockdown. See? A little information. These people think they're so brilliant, but some of them can barely turn their computers on without help. The top coder in my class at MIT, and I'm stuck living underground helping idiots who don't even trust me with keys. God, he's just spilling information. Spilling it out. What goes on here might be a bit too direct, because he takes his job very seriously. He's a very intelligent individual. He's a very top coder in his class at MIT. So if I keep asking him what goes on here, he might think that I'm like getting in there. So I'm gonna ask how big the place is, which is a fair question. It's a government facility of the highest secrecy, a research facility. It goes 4 stories underground, and quite frankly, it scares the piss out of me that you two got in here so easily. Why is that, I ask? This is a black ops graveyard. Even the CIA doesn't know this place exists. Okay, yeah, so, yeah. What goes on here, I'm thinking that's like If I ask that, he's not going to tell me. So what's his job? He'd probably be willing to talk about that. I handle the IT work and make sure the databases are up and running. It's a 24/7 job. I haven't seen sunlight in almost a year. I wonder what staying in a place like this does for that long would do to someone's mind. I was recruited. Because of the workload, no one else wants this job, but I don't really mind being by myself. No family. Plus the IT. It's some crazy shit. Crazy how? This place generates over 100 terabytes of data per day. He answers, getting the slightest bit excited before his face falls again. What happened here? I think that's a fair question. What happened? Just literally, what happened? Maybe more specifically, what knocked the lights out? Both are like the same question. Seems like some sort of power outage, that's all I know. There was an outage and then what? Dennis asks weakly. Then things got weird. Things got bad. Bad how? The whole place seemed to shake when the lights went out. I was checking the monitors when it happened and everything went dead. It took no more than a minute or so before I started hearing screams. People were being killed by something. I tried getting the security cameras going again, but they only lasted for a little bit on my backup systems. But what I saw... What? I asked, feeling a sharp fear worn its way into my guts. Well, what I saw on the screens for a little bit of time made no sense. It made me get the gun from the emergency vault. I think whatever it is, it's still down here. Hold on, there's an emergency vault with a rifle in the same room as security cameras in this place? Marcus gives me a grin that looks nearly insane. There are guns locked away in every room in this place, just in case, you know. Just in case of what? I think we all know just in case of what. But, so we're still in danger here. As he opens his mouth to answer, the elevator comes to a stop and the door slides open. Marcus is out right away without a word. He makes his exit and heads directly for a glassed-in room that's filled with computer monitors and high-end equipment. I bet he's going to get a gun! Dennis and I file in behind him, trying to keep up, but as we do, one very alarming question runs through my head. What the hell kind of government facility keeps loaded gun and emergency vaults in every single room? Excellent question. You and 58% of players called out to Marcus when you saw him in the tunnel. Oh, okay. Selflessness. You and 64% of players stepped in front of Dennis to protect him from Marcus. You and 65% of players were easy on Marcus after he surrendered. Well, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. I did pretty good there. We follow Marcus into what I can only describe as a control room of sorts. There are countless computer screens, some of which are obviously coming back on from having been shut off. Everything looks extremely complicated. From screens filled with code and data to what is obviously a security system. It reminds me of a miniaturized version of the operations center in just about every space travel movie I've ever seen. Marcus is running from one screen to another, apparently looking for some pertinent bit of information. Where's the first aid kit? I snap at him. Marcus stops in his tracks, as if he'd forgotten the whole reason for bringing us down here. Oh yeah, he says, rushing to the left side of the room. There, he hunkers down by an open panel in the wall, what I assume is the emergency vault from where he got the rifle. I better look at that. He may be trying to grab another gun, and that probably wouldn't spell too much good for me. So I'm gonna look into that. I peer over Marcus's shoulder into the vault he's opened. It's much larger than it looks from the outside. It's partially filled with file folders marked classified, a few rounds of ammo for a rifle, a peculiar plastic kit filled with syringes, and a locked black box. As Marcus digs around, one of the folders slips open. For the split second it's open, I see a scanned document and a color photo. The photo shows a male corpse with its guts on the outside of its body, as if it had been turned inside out. There's also a massive swelling on his head, almost like his skull is about to explode. Marcus slaps the folder closed, and then I turn my attention to one of the syringes. It's filled with a violet-colored fluid that, while rather pretty in color, looks deadly. Marcus finally pulls out the first aid kit and turns around. When I look back to motion Dennis over, he's paler than ever. Come on, I tell him, but he's not moving from the place on the floor where he sits against the wall. I slide the first aid kit over to him and go scrambling to his side. Between the struggle for the rifle upstairs and arriving in this room, he's faded fast. I struggle to lift up his shirt and then over his shoulder as the dried blood holds it in place. The mere act causes him to grimace. This might hurt a little, I tell Dennis. He only nods. He doesn't seem to care. Ooh. Well, I mean, ripping off a band-aid is one thing, but this is an open wound. I mean, gently might be good, but ripping it off quickly might also do some damage. I mean, the common instinct would probably be to rip it off quickly, but when it's a wound of this size, I think gently is the only way to go about it. Yeah, well, apparently that was important. I lift the shirt off gently and makes a sucking sound. There's so much blood that the moisture tries to keep the shirt pulled to him. Dennis lets out a little moan but seems to relax in spite of his injuries. With the shirt fully removed, the extent of his injuries become more clear. His wound is more visible now, although it's partially hidden by the blood that has started to clot around it. My medical knowledge is slim, basically just a bunch of basics I learned in Boy Scouts. I look over to Marcus hopefully and ask, "You have any training?" "Zero," he says. "Sorry." It's just as well, I guess. He's far too concerned with what's happening on the monitors to be of much help anyway. I start by taking out several rolls of gauze within the kip and wipe as much blood as I can away from the wound on his side. It's even worse than I'd figured from the start. The gash is deep. I'm pretty sure it's infected, too. He's going to need stitches, that's for sure, but I have no idea how to even start that. Besides, I don't see the tools for it in the kit. When I splash rubbing alcohol over the wound, he responds with a hoarse yelp of surprise, but nothing more. His eyes are locked on me and he looks appreciative, but he's also scared. "Be honest," Dennis says hopefully. "How bad does it look? You think I'll live?" Oh man. It looks really bad, Dennis. I mean, it does look bad, but I've been reassuring him this whole time. See, I think he'll be fine. He's gonna pull through. Yeah. "Good to know," he says, "but I sure don't feel like that." "You've been through hell," I say. "I think it feels worse than it actually looks." "Thanks. That's a relief." "I won't lie. You're gonna have a scar," I say, trying to be funny. He chuckles a bit, but there's no humor in it. He rests his head against the wall and closes his eyes as I finish up. I place one layer of gauze against the wound and bind it with medical tape. I then reinforce it with the second layer. I know it's meager, but it's all I can do. "Thanks, Roger," he says, actually managing to force out a smile. "I feel a lot better. I think I'll be fine." I'm not so sure about that, but I'm glad I was able to encourage him. Finally, I patch up the bruises on my head a bit, cursing myself again for not grabbing my hard hat. I know I'm an idiot. I look back at Marcus and he's really looking back at us deep in thought. My eyes starting to really swell up from where he kicked me earlier. Maybe I shouldn't have let him off so easy. "Are the first aid kits all you have in this facility? If there's something better, I don't know about it." I notice then that his defensive posture is no longer there. Something is different now, just a slight change in his demeanor. He's seen something on those monitors that has him frightened, more than he already was before. "What is it? What's wrong?" His eyes travel around the room and it's obvious that he's trying to decide whether or not to tell me the truth. If I ask him, he's probably not going to tell me, so I'm going to take a fucking look at this. Rather than wait for him, I get up and scan the screens behind him, seeing if I can find any clues I'd missed moments ago. After a few moments, I see a few things that even I can comprehend hidden in the complex information on most of the screens. On one screen, I see what looks like a power meter that's slowly climbing upwards. A single message is flashing beneath it. It reads, "Unexpected power failure, foreign entity." Another message trickling along the bottom of a black screen says, "Safety locks on level 3, containment doors engaged. Override?" I see still scenes on a few other screens that I assume are security cameras showing hallways and passages from elsewhere in the facility. One of them shows the first level hallway we were on just a few minutes ago. Another shows a hallway I don't recognize. The floor is covered in blood. From just off the screen, I see what I think might be a human body, but it's bent in an impossible way. It looks like the body's legs and torso have somehow been merged or melted into the floor. Is it more important to say what's wrong with the systems, or is it more important to say what is wrong with that body on the ground that's melted into the floor? I'm kind of curious about that. I have no idea. I didn't see it. Whatever happened to that guy must have happened in the last minute or so. Well, that's not good. What the hell? There's something still happening? Are we still in danger? He turns away, clearly fearing he has already said too much. And as bad as that is, there's a scene on another monitor that makes my blood go cold, and my fear spike to levels somewhere near terror. The scene is very familiar. It's the logging site. The equipment is unmistakably mine. I can even see my truck. Something like fury starts to rise up in my guts, momentarily pushing aside the fear. For a moment, I consider just tearing into him. A few punches and a shove against the wall, nothing more. I want answers, and I want them now, but I'm not sure which would provide more answers, asking calmly or kicking his ass. He's scared. I'm scared. He's angry. There's no reason to escalate. He sorta saw some truth when we said that we were loggers. He knew this. He was watching us. Of course they would. They're a complex. They're gonna have security cameras all over the location that they are to make sure that no dumb lumberjack just stumbles his way in. I'm gonna ask him calmly. Could you please explain to me why you've been spying on my crew? My anger is prodding at me and I have to hold it back again. It's near the surface, demanding a release. It was part of my job, mine and a few others. Your crew has been watched ever since you set up your equipment. Why? Because you're working with heavy equipment, some of which digs into the ground less than a mile from a secret government facility. I had no idea of that. How could I have known? Marcus gives me that same crooked, trembling smile that's beginning to creep me out. Because those things would draw attention to this place. You have no idea how secretive this facility is. Besides, I know that the higher-ups looked into it. Your site isn't on government land, it's shy by about 300 yards. Every piece of your equipment is on private property, the timber contract you purchased from Mr. Gladstone 2 months ago. So even if we wanted to intervene and keep your crew away, we couldn't have without stirring up a fuss. The fact that someone with such a low-level clearance knows this much about my logging crew is unnerving. If you've been watching us, why didn't you recognize us when we met in the hallway, I ask. He shakes his head and exhales, like it's obvious. The cameras have a bird's eye view. I can't see faces, we just track bodies and names. Now this is the point, probably the anger is building up in this guy. In me. Because I want to know where my crew is, and this guy has probably seen what happened. Unless the power went out at the exact same time, and he didn't see what happened to my crew. I mean, I'm angry. I know that. I want answers out of this guy. And this guy's a creep who's never seen anybody, but I still feel like being calm is the only way to get out of this. I want to yell at him, and if it comes up one more time, I'm going to yell at him, but I'm going to try to be calm about this. So since you have all this surveillance, do you know where the rest of my crew is? I do my best to keep my voice level, even though my impulse is to shout. Well, all of you were on site as usual before the incident. It had a few hours since I had checked, though. They might have come near the facility, or maybe not, I don't know. He says this casually, like it's not important. Well, are they inside the facility? You have cameras everywhere, right? Do you see them? Marcus shakes his head. I've been looking all over and I haven't seen your crew. They aren't here. But the lower levels don't have any cameras, classified. I'm not sure how they would have gotten there, but it's a possibility. I'm still shocked that we were being watched. Do they know everything about us? I'm telling you, the depth of influence in this facility goes deep. There are 36 employees down here. Outside of those employees, only 5 other people know this place exists. Yeah, I'm done asking calmly. I'm done being jerked around with this guy not giving a shit. I'm gonna ask him, what the hell goes on here? He doesn't even pause to consider if he should go any further. He actually laughs when he gives me the answer. I honestly don't know everything, probably very little, but what I do know is that is more than black ops. What does that mean, I ask? There are scientists here who've been disowned by their own governments because of the nature of their work. You get it now? I don't. Not at all. But I don't want him to know that. You said there are 36 employees. Where are they now? He shakes his head. As far as I know, everyone else is gone. Gone where? He points to the screen that still informs us of unexpected power failure and cringes. If this power failure was not corrected in time, there's no telling. But they're here in the facility somewhere, right? I ask, hoping someone will be able to help Dennis better than I. I just don't know. They could be anywhere. Look, I say, furious with the way he's talking in riddles. God, Dennis says. I look over to him and he's pale as a ghost. He stood up and his eyes are locked on the monitor closest to him. What? He simply points to the monitor and then looks away. I look at the monitor and see the logging site. But more specifically, I see the overturned dozer and the legs sticking out from under it, wearing work boots, right where I left him. Tony. The fact of his death seemed abstract, almost like it happened in some other world, or very long ago. I know that you already told me he was gone, but it's different actually seeing him. My God. Suddenly something blazes by the open door outside. The shape is fast and in shadow, but I'm pretty sure it's a person. Someone else is here, Marcus says, wheeling around. He sounds very happy to discover this, so I try to follow his lead. If something bad happened to this facility, then surely the sight of another survivor is a good thing, right? We should check it out, he says. I realize this isn't the best moment to leave Dennis after revisiting Tony's death all over again. Someone just ran by the door, I tell him. Hopefully it's someone who can help us. I'm gonna ask him if he's gonna be okay. Of course, I care about this guy. It's fine, go see who it is, he says, giving me a mock thumbs up. I turn to Marcus and motion for us to head out to investigate. Let's be careful. Depending on who it is, they might not be as hesitant to shoot a stranger as I was. I nod at him as I head for the door. I'm still holding the rifle in my hand, and I don't know if I have the guts to actually use it if needed. With a final look back to Dennis, I run out into the second-level hallway. Ooh, continue. Man, we're going deep into this. That's the thing about this. It's so enthralling to see this story spread out. Well, that's not reassuring. And the subtleties of the sound is good. Marcus follows. There's still fear in his eyes, but also the slightest glimmer of hope. That hope is contagious. We take off after the figure that just ran past the command center. Ahead of us, the facility presents yet another long hallway. Right away, I notice that on this level of this facility seems darker, even though the lights are all on now. The hallway is adorned with numbered yellow doorways and large white panels along the walls. It's clean and well maintained, but there's something ominous about it. Up ahead, I see the fleeting motion of something dark, cutting quickly to the left down a corridor. There, I say quietly, pointing up ahead. Marcus gives a nod and we continue chasing after the person we saw blaze by the command center just a few moments ago. It occurs to me that this person could be like Marcus at first, armed and scared. Maybe best not to shout in this hallway. I mean, I know I have a proclivity to shout, and maybe I should just keep going with that, but, you know, you never know. You never know. I'm gonna shout at him. I'm gonna shout, hey, 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 buddy. Hey, stop, who's there? I get no response and I'm unsure if I should be relieved or upset by this. The last person we met nearly killed me with a rifle. Why would this person be any different? I quickly dart around the corner and take some shooting, the same shooting stance I've seen countless times on TV. There's a woman standing there, about 10 feet away. She has reddish blonde hair and a small mousy build. She looks terrified and is visibly shaking. She's probably in her late 30s, wearing a lab coat with dark jeans and green Converse low tops. I have a strange sense that her fear is not just about our sudden appearance. She looks like a woman who's been running scared for a while. Her hands are raised in surrender. She's not holding a weapon. Marcus slowly approaches, taking a few steps ahead of me. "It's Amy, right?" he asks. She blinks, seemingly surprised that he knows her name. "Yes, and you're Marcus." She nods absently and then looks to my rifle. I'm not gonna use it. She's obviously scared. I was worried that this wasn't even gonna be a human that we find. I'm not gonna use it, but Marcus knows her. "Now how do I know that?" she asks. "You're trespassing on government property in the midst of a huge catastrophic event, and you have a rifle. How am I supposed to believe you? I have a friend back in the command center who needs medical attention, and we're looking for the rest of our crew." "I'm really sorry, but I don't know where they are," she says. "Do you know what's happened? From the power outage?" "I don't know what caused it," she says, "but there was an experiment taking place when the outage occurred. Something happened and..." She trails off here, giving me a look of distrust. "I saw things on the security monitors. The experiment failed, didn't it? I don't know the specifics. I barely escaped the 3rd floor. I was gonna go to the command center to see if the security footage showed anything, but then I saw you and the gun." Listening to their conversation, I'm feeling totally in the dark. What has you so scared is more important and probably gets more pertinent to the matter at hand. What the hell is so scary? Amy looks to me, her eyes white and terrified. "Who are you anyway?" I quickly give her my story, a logger stranded in the woods following a peculiar explosion at the logging site. As I tell her, recognition blooms in her eyes. "You're one of the loggers?" "Yes." She then looks to Marcus and says, "I thought they were being watched." "They were. This is a freak accident and there's no proof that they were responsible." I feel myself wanting to submit to all the questions that are piling up in my head, but Dennis is waiting for me. Let's see. I gotta get medical attention for Dennis. That's like first priority. If she can in any way help. I decide that despite my curiosity, I need to get Dennis help as soon as humanly possible. "Look, is there any medical help to be had here or not?" "Probably," Amy says, "but you'd have to find Colonel Barksdale. He knows where all those sorts of supplies are." "And where is he? Where is everyone else?" At this, Amy starts to weep. She falls to her knees as if someone had struck her from behind. "Gone," she says. "Some were killed, and some were just... I don't know. They disappeared right in front of me." What the hell is going on here? "Something's here with us," Amy says. "We were conducting an experiment and it all went horribly wrong. Something came through." "Came through what?" Marcus asks. "I don't even know that much. An entity. But whatever it is, it's still here somewhere." "How could you not know? Don't you have full security access? "No, I have access to almost everything. But there are 2 levels of security beyond my clearance. So what do you suggest we do now?" "I'm not sure," she says, wiping her tears away. "But if you want to find your crew, we need to find Barksdale. He's in charge." "Where is he?" "Down on the 3rd level, in the hangar." "Then let's go." It's not that easy, Amy says, again looking to the rifle in my hand. Why not? Like I said, something came through when the power went out. There's several of them, all roaming the 3rd level. What came through? What is it? All I know is that the others refer to them as entities. Amy shudders as she recalls the horror she has seen. I don't even know how to describe them. I didn't get a good look. All I did was run for my life. Behind me, I just heard screams. I know it's not very scientific of me, but I didn't feel like sticking around to learn more. She's right, Marcus says, stopping my train of thought. The things I saw on the monitors, it was crazy. This is insane, I bark. I'm going to the 3rd level to find this Barksdale guy. Thanks for your help. Wait, Marcus said, I'm sticking with you. If we want to get out of here, we have to find Barksdale, right? Yes, but Barksdale's on the 3rd floor and it's too dangerous to go back there. I figure I'll let them make their own decisions. In the meantime, I start heading back to the command center to get Dennis. Before I get there, I hear their footfalls behind me getting closer. I give Amy a questioning look and she quickly looks away, clearly torn. Neither of you know your way around here. Looking for Barksdale on your own would be suicide. Like it or not, she has a point. Fine. Then let's go get Dennis from the command center and head down together. Yeah, best not to split up. That's like the last thing that you should do. But I don't even know if Dennis is gonna be able to move. Dennis is like really hurt. There's not even any painkillers for him. We enter the command center and I'm happy to see that Dennis has regained some of his color. We're gonna get you some help, I tell him. And then we're gonna find our crew and get the hell out of here. More help would be great, he says. With the way you took an hour to get my shirt off earlier, I'm not letting you touch me again. Wait, maybe one of us should stay here with him. I'll be okay. He stands to his feet with a grunt. You don't know what's out there. I saw them. I saw what they can do. This facility is not safe. Are there any of them on this floor? I'm not sure, but they're down on the 3rd floor, so we'll need to be careful. Marcus looks a little hesitant, but he nods his agreement and the 4 of us exit the command center. Heading back out in the hallway, I look back to the monitors. I take a final look at the screen that shows my wrecked logging site and I feel a pang of sorrow. Then I look to the other monitors showing live feed of the facility's security cameras. I try to tell myself that I'm not looking for any sign of Amy's creatures, but I can't. That's exactly what I'm doing, and there's no need to pretend otherwise. We head back through the hall and towards the elevator. The tension exists between us is like a physical presence. Oh, this seems like a bad idea. We step inside the elevator and those pristine doors close. Inside the elevator, Amy seems to become much more guarded and distant from us. I want to assure that I mean her no harm, but I'm also not going to put the rifle down. So you have pretty high clearance in this place, right? That's right. So what kind of experiment are we talking about here? What went wrong? When she starts to answer my question, I can tell that it's something for a relief for her to get some of it off her chest. There's been a lot of work on the project taking place over here over the last 3 years or so. The purpose is to find out if there's any real viable science behind point-to-point instantiation. Like teleporting? Oh my god, I had no idea. I knew there was some weird stuff here, but nothing this insane. It's really not all that insane. We found our first major breakthrough about 9 months ago. We were able to transport a live rat from its cage on level 3 to a small lab in New Mexico. The trick took the rat 5 seconds. Are you kidding me? I can tell that he wants to sound as if he's mocking the idea, but he fails. He's scared. Not at all. The problem was that when the rat arrived, its retinas were detached and its intestines were on the outside of its body. What does this have to do with us now? Well, about 6 months ago, we successfully made the same experiment. The rat arrived in great health, and this time in just 3 seconds. Still, one of the things that we needed to tweak in order to make the process completely safe was to figure out how to keep the subject on a straight course. When the matter is being transported, not only are its atoms being unknit and then put back together upon arrival. Unknit? That's exactly the way the Star Trek does it. Yeah, deconstructed and translated through space. It's the only way we know how to do it right now. But the issue, as I said, comes in keeping the deconstructed subject on a straight course to its destination. When the process occurs, we are deforming space-time. We're creating a shortcut through space, and that has risks. Why exactly, Dennis asks. Because there are many more dimensions in space than the 3 we exist on, she explains. There's some evidence to say that there are as many as 10. So when you send a rat to New Mexico, it's traveling through another dimension to get there, I ask. Basically, and because of that, we're trying to get a better understanding of what these other dimensions are capable of. Things that have a great deal of population would be scared of if they knew what we were doing, hence all the privacy. Then today, the power went out. Went out as we were right in the middle of an experiment. Something happened. What? I don't know. She's speaking with the authority as someone who knows what she's talking about. Is that why those creatures are here? That's my assumption. I wasn't present for the experiment. I'm not cleared for such things, but I do get reports. What reports? Marcus asks. I'm given access to the result of the test. In other words, Marcus replies, clearly upset, you guys have been peeking into other dimensions and taking notes on what you see. I can't believe that I've wasted my life for this, he murmurs to himself. He looks like he's starting to freak out. Amy is quiet. Her expression indicates that she's waiting to see how I react to all this. See, honestly, that's incredible. Like, legitimately, that's legitimately incredible. That's groundbreaking science. Like, legitimately. So this is like interdimensional stuff, I ask? In a way, Amy answers. Marcus, on the other hand, is incredulous. I don't want anything to do with this, he says. All this time I've been working for... He laughs cruelly, and the sound of it makes my blood go cold for a second. Just a single level beneath my feet, you assholes have been tearing apart space and time, Marcus continues. When the elevator doors open, I can't get out fast enough. The tension is growing way too thick for my liking. Outside of the elevators, we step out into what appears to be a massive industrial area. The carnage waiting for us is unlike anything I'd seen in the upper levels. Oh boy. Oh, that's not good. Oh, that's not good. Oh, that's the opposite of good. The area looks industrial. Like everything was built for utility only. But more noticeable than that is all of the blood. My God, I've never seen so much blood. Those creatures must have had a field day. Holy shit, Marcus says, looking like a man that just awoke from a very bad dream. There were more personnel in this area when the experiment went haywire, Amy says, as if the explanation makes it all better. The research you had to do all down here better be worth it, I say. We had to get moving, or we're gonna lose our nerve. Amy, let's focus. Barksdale is in the hangar, I ask. If he's still alive, yes, that's where he'll be. Then let's hurry, I say. As far as I can tell, Dennis is doing much better, but I'm beginning to grow tired of trying to keep my fear at bay. Between the blood on the floor, the silence of level 3, and Amy's talk of the lab rats, I'm getting freaked out. No. I can take it. I am a brave boy. I can do this. I've got the gun. Jesus, I'm not gonna let anyone walk in front of me with a gun. The four of us start walking ahead with me in the lead. We stop walking when we come to the remains of what looks to be 3 different people. It's hard to tell how many bodies there were because they've been torn to shreds and are distorted. 2 of the bodies look as if they've been fused together. Another man looks to have his leg welded through the floor. I can see this man's face. He died in an abject state of horror. His mouth pried open in an eternal scream. We gotta investigate the bodies. Like, we have to. It's grim work, but we have to know. I see half a face pushed down into the floor like putty, barely attached to a separated skull. A single dead eye stares at me. I think I might puke. Behind me, Marcus does just that. As I listen to him heaving, my eyes cannot leave the carnage. There's blood everywhere, a crimson pool flooding the floor. There are hunks of skin and tissue splattered on the wall, and a strand of unspooled intestine that clings to the floor like a dead snake. Dennis steps up beside me, and when he speaks, his voice is soft and flat. What in the hell could do that to someone, he asks. The things I saw, Amy answers. They could do it pretty easily, I think. She looks pale, and I think that she may pass out at any moment. Tears spill from her eyes, and she's visibly shaking. But she soldiers on, looking back to me and stepping to the side of the gruesome carnage. Her eyes again go to my rifle, and she doesn't look very hopeful. You good to go, she asks me. We need to move on, but for some reason I can't take my eyes off the scene. My mind is reeling, trying to process it all. I don't know, if I keep looking around, then we're gonna stick around in this area and that may be too long. And also, it might be bad for the group. I mean, is there anything to glean more than what we've seen already? I mean, there could be a key or there could be something, but I don't think the group can take it. We gotta get out of here. We leave the grisly sight behind, moving into an equally destroyed area. From what I can tell, the next room was once an open area for experimentation. The place hasn't just been destroyed, it's been physically altered in a way that makes no sense. The girders look to have been warped, their very materials distorted and twisted. To my right, a machine has been catapulted and looks to have somehow merged with the wall rather than crashing into it. Beyond these phenomena, there's the standard violence I was expecting to see. There's a limp arm sticking out from underneath the wreckage, and more blood. I see no signs of an explosion, which makes me wonder just how this happened. Seeing the aftermath is sickening enough, but it makes me wonder if Amy saw it while it was happening. Let's see. Did you see what happened to those girders? I don't need a reminder about the people that died. I only caught a glimpse of it. It was like trying to focus your eye on something that was too close. They just started twisting, but not creaking or breaking. It's like these creatures are able to deform matter. She pauses here, and that's when we hear something echo through the facility. It comes from behind us and slightly to the right. I'm not sure what it is, but it makes my blood feel like ice. It sounds almost like static from an AM radio, but there's a high-pitched noise beneath it that I can't even start to fathom. What in the hell is that, I ask, instantly clapping my hands to my ears. One of them, she says, her voice a whisper. One of the creatures. That's what they sound like, Dennis asks. I see that he's leaning against the wall, wincing at the noise. I suddenly realize that I have a death grip on the rifle, ready to shoot at the next thing I see. Anything between us and them? Not really. None of the hallways are blocked off by secure doors. Everyone seems to take this as the cue to start moving again. We make our way around the office wreckage, now with new purpose in our step. We barely make it to the other side of the room, approaching a dark hallway when another high-pitched noise sounds out. This one louder, closer. We all share a terrified look, and I can tell that Amy is on the verge of losing it. I grip my rifle tightly as we head towards the hallway in front of us. How much further to the hangar? Close. It's just at the end of this hallway. Dennis speaks up, his voice like ice. Why don't we just haul ass then? No one says anything after that, but I can feel the presence of terror around us, pressing in on us like some new, violent gravity. We gotta move out of here. This is a bad place to be caught out in the open. That is even more blood. This is blood everywhere. The small utility hallway is well lit. It looks as if it was designed to only be used by select maintenance workers. What goes on in this area, I ask. I'm looking at Marcus and I ask questions, but he only shrugs in response. She might know, he replies, pointing to Amy. I've never been down here before. It's just a utility hallway, but at the end there's a maintenance room. There should be a gun or two in there. It's also the most direct path to the hangar entrance. As we walk quickly and quietly down the hall, I take a glimpse ahead and feel the hair on the back of my neck stand on end. The lights become more sparsely spaced, and it's impossible to see just how far down the hall extends into the darkness. This hallway has the occasional trace of bloodshed, but nothing like the main area we've come from. We continue farther down, and just as I begin to see what looks like a large metal door further ahead, I hear yet another shrill sound. This one sounds farther away, but no less demonic. How many of these things did you see? 3, but that's just what I saw. There could be more. What did they look like? Yeah, what are we dealing with? I don't want to ignore this. I don't even know how to explain them. Monsters. That's the only word I can think of. My mind seemed to struggle just trying to understand what I was seeing. They're big, and they seem to jerk around every few feet or so. They look like they're made of light. That's about all I know for sure. You know, my ex-husband always said I'd let my work kill me, she continues, seemingly unable to stop herself. I mean, I doubt he imagined this exact scenario, but still. As we make our way to the hangar doors, another high-pitched scream rings out, angrier now. Amy stops walking, causing all of us to stop and turn to her. We have to do something to slow those things down, she says. No, there's no time. We need to distance ourselves and get to the hangar, fast. Amy ignores him, deep in thought. There's an old hydraulic door set into the wall right here. It hasn't been used for years, though. She looks to me, pleading her case. Together we might be able to pull it closed behind us to keep those things back. Those old hydraulic doors weigh a ton. There's no way it'll work. Roger, what do you think? They'll have a harder time getting to us if these doors are locked. Look, Marcus shouts, we need to get to the hangar now. Okay, there's one person in this group that has survived these things, and that's Amy. I don't know if it's blind luck or actual intelligence, but I'm guessing that she knows what she's supposed to do. We're gonna close those damn doors. Damn it, Marcus says, we don't have time for this. Amy ignores him and starts feeling along the hallway for a groove. Dennis and I start looking as well. A minute passes, then I see a small metal frame that runs from the floor to the ceiling. Is this it? I ask. Yes, Amy says. I look to the floor and see an old metal track that runs along the frame. Let's move it, I say. Amy, Dennis, and I start pulling as hard as we can, but it barely budges an inch. Behind us, the static noise rings out. My heart seems to stutter, and Mark lets out a little whine. We're running out of time. We need to go. Those things are getting closer every second. Help us, Marcus. If Marcus just gets off his ass and help us, it won't make a difference. We shut up and help us, and then we'll find out, I shout. Reluctantly, Mark walks over and grasps the door. We all groan as we strain to pull. It starts inching slowly, and then begins moving steadily. Once we get it started, it slides easily. As we near the wall closing off the hallway behind us, I think I can see the merest glimpse of an odd illuminated shape in the darkness. It's cut off by the slight thump of the hydraulic door being pushed against the frame in the opposite wall. Amy turns the lock into place. Great, now let's haul ass, says Marcus. We all turn and get moving again, still feeling unsure about our prospects. The fact that yet another shrill noise sounds out elsewhere in the facility is not calming. And then there are two of them. It's almost like they're calling out to one another. The doors to the hangar sit up ahead like an entrance to some enormous labyrinth. I think we made the right choice, but that does not look promising. There's blood right on that hangar door, and it seems to be bent. When we reach the hangar door, I get a true sense of how impenetrable they are. A computer terminal is mounted on the wall nearby and has a blinking red light. Any idea what this means, I ask? It's an automated lock, a failsafe from the lockdown, says Amy. I've never been down here before, Marcus says. If I'd known this door was here, I would have opened it earlier. How? Amy asks. The fear in her voice is more present than ever. From the command center, you need the override from there first, then use this terminal to open the hangar doors. The command center on the second floor, I ask? Yeah, Amy shakes her head and lets out a nervous laugh. Are you kidding me? We just pulled that hydraulic door and blocked off the hallway, remember? If we want to get into the hangar, we have to get back to the command center. Isn't there another way? Turning to Marcus, Amy replies, well, there's another elevator, but we'll need to go through biochem storage. I need to stay with Dennis so he can rest. You two go. You know your way around this place, and you know the controls, Marcus. Fine, but we'll need to be armed. Oh, the thing is, Amy doesn't know how to use the gun. Marcus does. He's been trained for that. As much as I don't like Marcus, he's the one qualified to do it. Amy is a scientist. What training would she have in that? But then again, I do trust Amy more, but I can't be guaranteed that Marcus isn't gonna do something stupid. God damn it. Oh, this is a bad choice. This is a bad choice, but I think I'm gonna give it to Marcus just because Marcus has had the training. And then again, I don't know if Amy doesn't have the training. Marcus didn't shoot us. That's the thing. He had enough self-control, even though he was scared, not to shoot us. I don't know what Amy would do. I'm just gonna give it to Marcus. Because Amy could be like a sole survivor instinct, but then again, Marcus could be too. I'm gonna give it to Marcus. It's his gun anyway. I hand Marcus the rifle and he turns to go. Amy gives me a concerned look, but follows along behind him. Once Amy and Marcus made it a good distance down the hallway, Dennis lets out a nervous laugh. And then there were two, he says. Dennis looks much better, but he still needs to use the wall to stay standing. Didn't Amy say that there were guns and emergency kits in the maintenance room near the hangar doors, I ask? Yeah, I think so, Dennis says, looking exhausted. I look ahead and see a door to the right that reads maintenance. Might as well give it a try. I go to the door, try to open it, and find that it's locked. No, I don't want to kick it down. My knee's bad. My knee's bad. I'll push it with my shoulder. My knee is bad. I give it a hard shove, but it doesn't budge. I'm about to try again, but that's when I hear the dry choking sound from just down the hallway. It's barely audible, but it's not my imagination. My first thought is that it's one of those things, one of the monsters, but after calming my nerves and reassessing, it sounds more like a person. I think about how angry and on edge Amy was when she turned to leave, as well as how scared Marcus had looked. Alarm bells sound in my head, and before I know it, I'm heading back down the hall away from the hangar doors. Stay here. I'll be right back, I whisper over my shoulder to Dennis. See if you can figure out how to get into that maintenance room. Where are you going, he asks. I don't bother answering him as I bound through the door where Amy and Marcus went. Oh no. Did I make a goof? I better not have made a goof. That's a lot of blood. I would have heard a gunshot. As I enter the biochem room and start walking between the massive silos, I wonder what classified chemicals could be inside of them. I'm fully expecting one of Amy's creatures to come flying out from the intersection of halls up ahead. I think I hear something, a skittering noise, like something moving quickly. I run ahead so fast that I almost trip over 2 people in a life-or-death struggle. My mind tries to process what I'm seeing, but it makes no sense. None at all. Marcus is on the floor with Amy pinned beneath him. He has his rifle at her throat, pushing her down to the floor and choking her with it. Her face is turning purple, and her eyes look like they may pop out of her head. Marcus sees me coming down the hallway, but acts as if what he's doing is perfectly normal. I gotta stop him. What the hell is he doing? I start rushing towards him before I really know what I'm doing. I bring my fist down hard in an arc across the bridge of his nose and rewarded with a sick cracking sound. He cries out as he falls to the ground, looking at me as if he doesn't understand why I punched him. On the floor, Amy clutches at her neck and grasps for breath. I start to fear that I was a moment too late just as I see the rifle has been thrown across the floor. Marcus seems to know this at the exact same moment that I do. I'm gonna hit Marcus again. Jesus, this guy deserves to be hit. I deliver a surprisingly strong blow with my right hand, clipping his chin from my awkward position. I'm in the process of planting a knee in his chest to hold him down, with his left foot comes out of nowhere, landing hard. The kick catches me squarely in the ribs, knocking the breath out of me. What the hell are you doing? By killing her, I'm saving us all. All of this was her fault. I sense that he truly believes this, but if that's the case, then why not just shoot her rather than strangle her with the rifle? The answer is simple. We would have heard the gunshot, and I, or those things, would have come running. He wanted to kill her quietly. And then what? Would he have done the same to Dennis and me? It seems fitting, really. When we first came upon Marcus, he held a gun on us. I'd been so relieved to see another human being that I'd underestimated just how unhinged he was. Marcus and I both dive for the rifle, but he's still laying on the floor, and start wrestling for possession, but I'm not confident I'll come away with it. As we struggle, he starts inching the muzzle of the gun towards my face, a position I do not want to be in. I start pushing back hard. But if this thing accidentally fires, I'm not sure where I'd prefer the bullet to go, especially in this room full of chemical tanks. Force muzzle towards Marcus. Oh boy, what the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on? I grunt as I push the muzzle to point towards his face. Realizing he's literally looking down the barrel of a gun, Marcus ducks his head out of the way. This makes him lose leverage, allowing me to yank the gun from his grip. I get to my feet as quickly as I can, swinging the rifle back around on him. For a moment I think I've knocked him out, but his eyes flutter and he looks to me as if I've betrayed him. Her people. It was them that did this. She deserves to die. She did this! I look to Amy and wish I could help her. I'm relieved to see that she's managing to draw in a few breaths. Her legs move as she tries to push herself into a sitting position. You wouldn't know. You didn't work here under their secrecy. You don't know what it was like to... He surprises me by lunging towards me, leaping from the floor like a human projectile. I don't have time to aim carefully. I have to react fast. I can't shoot him. That would defeat the entire purpose of this. I have to try to dodge, but he's probably going to hit my knee, and it's going to be damaging. But it's better than shooting him. His aim is poor and his strength is failing, so I dodge him easily. Oh, okay then. I don't want to have a gunshot go off and alert those creatures to where we are. Make a hard jab of the butt of the rifle, striking him in the chest, something that crunches, and he lets out a whoosh of air. He crumples for a moment and then goes to his knees. He roars in pain on the floor. Only, after a few moments, I realize that they're not purely screams of pain. The bastard is calling for them. Calling for those creatures to come for us. This place is evil, along with everyone involved. If you are taking her side, then you deserve to die too. If you want to stop me, you'd better do it now, you coward. The rage in his eyes at Amy, as well as towards me for stopping him, makes me think that he'll deliver on his threat. I'll raise the rifle again, every urge in my body wanting to make sure that he doesn't come back to bite us. But I'm not a violent man. I could not easily kill him and just leave him behind. I'm a forgiving guy, but this is ridiculous. Like, he's obviously scared and unhinged. It's not like he's possessed by the demons. He's just not thinking rationally. He's been in complete solitude for months at a time, maybe even a year, just in this place alone with no one telling him what's going on. And he finds out that it's something that he staunchly opposes. If I kill him, then I'm shooting him and it defeats the purpose anyway. God, I don't want to. I don't want to! Just like when I could barely shoot earlier as he was coming at me, I can't bring myself to deliver a kill shot. I ignore him and lean down to Amy. You okay, I ask? She nods slowly. Have to go, she says. They'll be here any minute, too much noise. I have to hold her arm so she can get to her feet. We start forward and then I think of Dennis. We should go back to the hangar doors. I can't just leave Dennis there. There's no time. You need to come with me up to the command center now. We'll be back for him soon. You're all dead now anyway, Marcus shrieks. If they don't get you, I will. He laughs maniacally after saying this, hooting like a madman. As if in response, a high-pitched noise tears through the hallway. I seem to feel it in my bones. They're following his noise now. She takes off away from Marcus, presumably towards the other elevator she'd mentioned moments ago. I follow her. As we move out, I hear Marcus slowly pushing himself off the ground and stumble off, slipping in between the tanks and disappearing. We start running, and after the few first strides, another noise sounds out. It sounds mechanical, but at the same time, it also reminds me of the recordings I've heard of whale songs. Sound of metallic creaking and crashing echoes through the door I came in through. They've reached the hydraulic door we pulled in. Amy says. The sound grows louder and it's clear they're struggling with it, which is good. We have a bit more time. I speed up my step to follow Amy as she leads the way to the other elevator. She's panting furiously but pushes on. I can hear something rattling in her breath, likely the result of Marcus's attacks. This makes me imagine how this cold, uncaring eyes must have looked, staring down at her as he tried to deliver her to death. How she's still forging on is beyond me. I'm sorry about Marcus. It's not your fault. When you handed him the gun, you didn't know he would use it on me. I just hope we can find a way to survive this mess. We'll be fine, don't worry. That's me, the reassuring guy. I'm not so sure, she says, her eyes fixed straight ahead. I'm not sure I can blame her. I just wanted to say something encouraging, I guess. We finally come to the elevator at the end of a row of silos. The elevator's door slides open slowly. At the moment we hear something behind us, a strangled sort of whistling sound. We step inside and turn around to face the biochem room. Thankfully, we've been getting a few moments to spare. The elevator doors remain open for 3 seconds before they start to slide close again. In those 3 seconds, I see a large shape floating towards us. A phosphorescent-like white glow outlines an impossible shape. Behind it, I see another shape that's also entered the biochem room, and another. The third one breaks away from the other two, taking a quick right. It moves with eerie speed. That's the direction Marcus had gone. Honestly, the thought of them hunting him down doesn't bother me in the slightest. Amy is pressing the button to close the elevator doors over and over, but they stay open for what seems like an eternity. I curse whoever designed these damn doors. I don't think, honestly, if they're made of light, I don't think bullets are gonna do a damn thing against them. We're gonna hide in here. Amy and I slide ourselves up against the sides of the elevator, trying to avoid being seen. But I can't help but peeking around the corner. I hold the rifle steady, ready to fire, and that's when I see them in clear light for the first time. I can see their features, their shape and their colors, but my mind can't quite process it all. Nothing about them makes any sense. My eyes try to see a squid, but that's not what these things are. They're gray and white and seem to be nothing more than squirming light. Their appendages are neither legs nor tentacles, but somewhere in between. They don't walk on these appendages, they just use them to glide. They move like ghosts and seem to jerk every few feet or so. But I'm pretty sure that this jerking effect is not a result of their moving, but my mind's inability to understand how they're moving exactly. It's also more than their appearance that makes a mockery of reality. The light around them seems to bend inward, as if the space within the room is to reshape itself for their existence. That peculiar effect on the air makes their movements seem like something moving underwater, only faster. They screech in unison as they rush towards the elevator. They'll be inside here in another few seconds. I check the rifle and see that my ammo is diminishing. I have to start staving my shots. I'm going to have to be choosing. But wait, I haven't shot it yet. It's never been shot. Oh man. I have full faith that this elevator is going to close. But should I shoot at them? They already know I'm here. They're right in front of me. At least if I shoot at them, I'll know if it affects them. That's important. They're saying my ammo is diminishing, but I haven't used my bullets yet. I did not shoot Marcus. I think I can spare a bullet at this one. You decide to shoot at the creatures. Now about a foot remains between the sliding doors. I find my muscles reacting instinctively again. I pull the trigger. The shot fills the elevator and there's a thunder in my ears. I hit the thing in the center and the reaction is not what I expect. The monster pauses and spasms for about 2 seconds. Its body of light flickers for a moment, similar to a light bulb on the brink of burning out. My finger keeps pulling the trigger. The throb of the rifle in my hand is comforting, and each screech from the creature is like music. But then I realize that this only seems to be slowing it down. Its tentacles seem to tighten and then loosen, like a weird muscle reflex, but then it's on the move again, unharmed by the shots. Finally, the elevator door closes. The creatures wash against the other side of the door, making an electrical noise and crying out in anger. The tips of their spider-like appendages poke through the wall and elevator door, but for some reason they can't get all the way through. Amy screams at this and curls into a ball at the far end of the elevator, crying. I say nothing to her. I just cling to the rifle, hoping those creatures don't find Dennis as he waits by the hangar doors where I left him. For his sake and ours, we need to get them open now. End of chapter 3. Wow, this was a long one. This was actually a long one, and we made a lot of choices here. I want to see how I stack up against everybody else, because this was quite a chapter. The blunt truth. You and 59% of players told Dennis he'd probably be fine. Slowed them down. You and 35% of players sided with Amy on pulling the hydraulic door. Who to trust? You and 31% of players gave the gun to Marcus. Let's see. You and 58% of players left Marcus alive. An hour later, you and 32% of players used your ammo and took extra shots at the creatures. So, I was kind of on the outside of the norm here, but it seems to me that no matter if you gave it to Amy or Marcus, it doesn't matter because Marcus would have tried to kill her anyway, because murder or mercy seems to be there. The ride up the elevator is tense. I take a series of deep breaths, doing everything I can to stay in control. Amy has gone back to her feet, but her head is pressed against the elevator wall as she suppresses a series of sobs. I find myself trying to remember the way those creatures looked, but my mind seems to shudder at the effort. I've seen something that is an impossibility, a mockery of what I know as real. This fills me with terror that dwarfs anything else I've felt since discovering the facility. I try to focus on my mind on something else, and remember Marcus's threats. I wonder if we'll see Marcus again, I say, mostly to myself. Do you think Marcus got away from those things? I sort of hope not. Me too, she says, looking at the ground, her arms folded. So, I say, how did you end up here? She gives a nervous chuckle and shrugs. I used to work with the Pentagon. It was some pretty upper echelon stuff that I still can't discuss. I assume this place is even more upper echelon? This place isn't even on the scale, she answers. My other job was a cakewalk compared to this. Then why stay, I ask. Because the money is ridiculous. I have a 13-year-old daughter already talking about Harvard. You do the math. Any other kids? No, just the one. Her dad split on us when she was 3. I never remarried, so no siblings for her. I may have only gotten one, but the one I got is amazing. Amy pauses before continuing softly. What if I never see? Her voice breaks off, the words too terrible to say, her eyes filled with tears. The elevator comes to a stop, the slight ding of it interrupting the moment. Amy hastily wipes her eyes, and we waste no time getting back inside the command center. I ready the rifle, suddenly certain that there are more of those creatures waiting for us in the hallway of the second level. But the way is clear, allowing us to haul ass to the command center. Once again, I find myself staring at the screen that shows my ruined worksite. Okay, Amy says, typing commands rapidly. It can't be that hard. I keep peeking over my shoulder, my senses feeling as if the monsters are sneaking up on us, mere inches away. I then think to Dennis and wonder how he's faring back on level 3. Is he safe? I look back to the screens and see that Amy has finally found what she's looking for. A prompt on the screen says, override of hangar doors and all level 3 locks requires clearance code. Amy types in a number with shaking fingers, and the screen goes blank for a moment. The moment the words, override confirm, come up on the screen, Amy jumps up from the chair and we head out of the room. We have to be quick, she says. We have exactly 20 minutes to open those hangar doors. Well, you know what? I don't think I need to know what happens in 20 minutes. I think I know what happens in 20 minutes. I follow her out of the command center and bound back to the hallway towards the same elevator that brought us here. Amy punches the elevator button and the doors slide open. We're taking the same elevator back to the biochem room? Those creatures are still down there. It's the only way back down. The other way is blocked by those hydraulic doors we pulled. Hopefully the creatures left. Hopefully. Neither of us say anything else as we share a look of immense dread. We step back into the elevator and head back down to the biochem room on level 3. Well, damn, that was a quick go of things. Oh, this is not gonna be good. I hope we find Marcus's body, because maybe they went after him. Considering that he was alive, maybe they went after him and didn't decide to bother us. As the elevator doors open, we peer out, looking to see if the creatures are still in the area, but it's all clear. When Amy looks at me, her eyes are clear and strong. Marcus wasn't entirely wrong, Amy says as we started walking back towards the hangar. About what, I ask? About how I'm partially to blame for this. See, why would you be to blame? I mean, you're doing the science, but you didn't know. Some of the things we do here, it's scary. We should have known that one day something like this would happen. Everyone here with knowledge of what's going on in level 3 is to blame, she says. It's a highly advanced research facility, I say, doing amazing but risky stuff. So yeah, you're partially to blame by just working here, but I can understand the dedication. So why don't you tell me a bit more about what does go on in level 3, I ask. Are you familiar with the Large Hadron Collider over in Switzerland? I've heard of the phrase, but that's about it. It's a powerful particle accelerator. Right now they're using it to try to create what's called dark matter. It's theorized that this dark matter actually makes up the majority of the universe, but parts of the universe very different from ours. My guess is the people at the LHC will probably create their first dark matter particle in about 2018 or 2019. Here in this research facility, we were able to create one almost 10 years ago. It was the key to our research. Does this have something to do with those things? Well, we still don't know all there is about dark matter, or other matter we haven't yet identified. These creatures could be made of it, or maybe they're some even more exotic matter we just don't know. If dark matter is responsible, there are no real answers to have. I scratch my head. So you're saying this dark matter helps with what? Opening up other dimensions or something? That's the theory, she says. During the point-to-point transfer, the subjects are gone for about 3 to 6 seconds. There's no way to see or measure their presence, but they exist somewhere. From what we can tell, they exist in a kind of void. Have you done this with people? We have sent human subjects through. Almost all of them have returned successfully. I make an involuntary grimace. Almost. There was one man, Dr. Canna, who didn't return. We don't know where. She trails off, taking a moment to collect herself. Sorry, I asked, I say, feeling my mind start to bend inward again. As we continue to walk between the silos, we walk past the area where we left Marcus behind, but he's long gone. Maybe he found a way out. I realize that we're walking very close together between the silos, perhaps trying to create the illusion of safety. We reach the exit connecting to the hangar doors where Dennis hopefully still is. My gut clenches and my heart hammers in my chest as we open the door and walk through. I lift the rifle, but at first it seems that there's nothing waiting for us. And that's when I see the glowing, hulking shape to my left, closing in fast. Oh shit, that's not good. Yeesh. The creature is about 10 feet away and coming in quickly, so I do the first thing that comes to mind. I drop to the ground, making myself a smaller target, and raise the rifle. I'm not sure if I should just unload on the bastard or try to be choosy with my shots to weaken it, or at least slow it down. Shoot to weaken. Obviously, we're not going to be able to kill these things. That's why I shot at the things before, because I know that it can be slowed down, but not killed. My shot causes the entity entire milky white frame to jerk to the floor. It flounders, its ghost-like tentacles writhing with rage as it cries out to me. It seems to turn and jerk away, parts of it appearing and disappearing every few feet. It moves down the hall and out of sight. I look quickly around for others, but there's only Amy. She looks at where the monster went with wide eyes. Her face is pale, and I wonder if, like me, she's able to feel her mind trying to retreat. Come on, I say. Let's find Dennis and get through these hangar doors. Amy glances at her watch. We're already down to 6 minutes. We turn towards the hangar doors, and I'm a little disgusted with myself because the bloody scene that so shocked me before now seems mild. Amy goes to work on the computer console to the left side of the doors. She starts punching in keys before saying, "This is going to take some time." "I thought you already unlocked it," I ask. "I did," she says, "but for this door there's still security permissions I need to hack. Marcus would have known how to do this." She trails off, and I decide to let her work. Suddenly, something slams into me. I feel my feet leave the floor, and I'm literally thrown across the concrete. I look up in time to see one of the creatures. It's apparently in no hurry to attack me again, focusing on Amy instead. She's not armed. I need to come up with a plan to get this thing away from her so she can focus on getting the door open. It raises one of its flickering appendages, making me certain that part of its makeup is pure light and energy. I could easily take a shot with my rifle, but my mind again goes to how much remaining ammo I have. The only other thing I can think of is to get it to chase me and lead it away from this world somehow. I guess I could distract it? It seems to be very important right now to conserve my ammo, so if I can distract it, then I can get out of here. "Hey," I yell. "Right here! Come get me! I'm the one that shot your buddy!" It turns to me and I am again faced with the staring at something that has no business in this world, in this reality. Its body gives off a sort of glow around the central part, a bulbous core that's branched off into two humps, very much like a spider. Again, I sense that the visual information is not accurate, but it's the best my simple mind can do to make sense of this impossible creature. It starts lurching towards me and lets out a shriek of agony that makes me feel like my ears are going to explode. Now that I'm sure it's coming after me, I take off running and head into another hallway we haven't been down. I find myself in an industrial-looking area and am pleased to find that the monster has followed me through. Oh, I'm pleased at that. Oh, that's a good thing. Oh, okay. All right then. Great. Oh boy. The room seems to be an assortment of old pipes and tanks. I assume some of them run further down into the other areas of the facility. With the creature on my tail, I dash into the maze of metal, hoping to lose it. It's definitely having a harder time squeezing through than I am, and that slows it down. Of course, the room's not a cage of any kind. The thing is still heading towards me, shredding through the pipes as it rages. I notice that sometimes it's breaking the steel girders, but other times it seems like it's somehow merging or changing them. Pipes that were separate are now connected together in a way that makes my head hurt. I finally get a good amount of distance between myself and the creature. I think it's lost my trail. I need to get back to those hangar doors. There's not much time before they close shut. But if I make a sound, that creature would be on my heels again. Let's see. I'm gonna run as fast as I can, because frankly, I need to get there before they close. But maybe... I only had 6 minutes again, and that's probably like 4 minutes ago. I gotta go. I gotta book it. There's no time, I think to myself. I have to get moving. With no care of staying silent, I twist myself through more pipes and make my way back towards the door I entered through. Immediately, the creature picks up on this and turns towards me. But I don't even look back. I slide through this rusted obstacle course and sprint back to the hangar doors. Yep, let's do that. Let's do that. I burst back into the large room and see Amy still working on the computer terminal by the hangar doors. You okay, Isaac, Amy? I can clearly see her battling for control of her faculties. Steel determination wins out and she gives a grim nod. Any sign of where Dennis went, I ask, hoping she hasn't noticed his body somewhere. No, she replies. It's then that I realize that I have no idea how many rounds I have remaining in the rifle. This isn't a model I'm familiar with. Outside of some deer hunting, I'm not much of an expert on firearms. Still, I'm able to locate the chamber easily and see that there were only 2 rounds left. I silently curse myself for being too trigger-happy earlier. How are we on time, I ask her. 4 minutes. I'm going as fast as I can. I was worried how long it would take you to lose that thing. Well, I decided it was better to get back quickly than to... At that moment, the creature screams on the other side of the door. He'll be in here any second. Amy does her best to focus on the keyboard, but there's still no sign of Dennis. Before I have time to look around, a screeching sound erupts from the other side of the room. I bring the rifle up in a shooter stance and turn around. With the hangar doors right behind me, no sign of Dennis, and closing window of time, I have to be confident. Yet when 2 monsters come around the corner, my body wants to shut down. The appendages seem to jump in space and time, reaching out for a split second, independent of the body, and then disappearing back to where they came from. It turns and screeches at me, its glowing tentacles snaking out of its body. My knees tremble uncontrollably. Behind me, Amy shrieks. I feel myself losing control, my mind sliding into the abyss of insanity. I pull myself back from the brink. I've got to stay in control. I've only got 2 shots left. Now would be the time to use them. 2 bullets, 2 monsters. Okay, I'll take that chance. I step away from Amy in the hangar doors and towards the monster, ready to defend her. I ready my rifle, but the creatures waste no time. It makes that jerky motion towards me, and there's a sharp pain in my chest as it collides with me. Or through me. It's hard to tell. My instinct is to try to grapple or hold this thing down, but then I realize I don't even know if that'll work. Let's see. Oh boy. My guess is that touching this thing is probably not a good idea. I'm gonna try to get away. I figure I'd rather not try to learn more about the physical nature of this thing right now. I tuck and roll away from it, then stand up to face it. With a scream of defiance, I raise the rifle and put a round in its core. The shot lands dead center and the light inside of it flickers almost violently. It falls back against the wall, issuing a hiss of its telltale static noise. It then jerks away and retreats, at least for now. Another terror appears as if out of nowhere, screaming at me with its high-pitched whine. It bounds forward, charging in its strange, spastic way. I aim the rifle, intending to take this one on in the core too. I take several shots, but it's coming at me. As it slams into me, I pull the trigger again and realize that my rifle is now empty. On contact, the wind is knocked out of my lungs, and the back of my head strikes the floor. But neither of these things is alarming as the fact that the beast is on top of me. Its exterior is like a seashell that's been pounded by the surf for so long that it's lost all edges and ridges. But the grip it tries to capture me with is pure violence. I feel those light-soaked appendages start to wrap around me. I raise the rifle knowing it's empty but hoping to use it as a wedge to push the thing off me. The weight of the monster is erratic. One moment I feel weightlessness, another I feel like I'm going to be crushed. I push upward with the rifle. The monster budges a bit, but almost seems to absorb it, warping in its grip. I see the core of the body, a spider-like shape connected to the rest of it by a thin white string of tissue. I'll be dead within seconds unless I can fend it off or get help. What's Amy gonna do? Amy doesn't have anything. She's gotta open those doors. Let's punch the fucker. Let's just punch it. I do my best to give one last heave to push it off, but my hands melt through. I curse myself for wasting so many bullets earlier. Two of its appendages wrap around my left shoulder, and I feel a white-hot pain fill my body. The tentacles burn, and I realize that some are actually going through my shoulder, like a kid pulling apart the stitches of a doll. But then I see the creature extend its tentacles in aggravation while making that static screeching sound. The creature flickers, releasing me suddenly. With a shudder and a cry of desperation, I roll away from it and see that a large hole has appeared in its luminous core. The creature disappears into thin air and reappears a few feet from me, retreating back towards the biochem room. Amy looks over at me from her terminal at the hangar doors, looking petrified. Dennis stands several feet away, holding a shotgun. He walks slowly towards us and is clearly just as scared and out of sorts as we are. "You okay, boss?" he asks, but his eyes aren't on me. They're looking to the creature, trying to understand what exactly it is he's seen. About 15 minutes ago, I heard the door to that maintenance room unlock. Dennis says, pointing to the room I tried to bust my way into earlier. "Ah," Amy says, "when I did the override up in the command center, it unlocked all the small doors down here, including that maintenance room. I went inside there and hid," Dennis continues, "and while I was waiting for you to come back, I found a massive trunk. There are a few guns in it, so I grabbed this one, patting the shotgun." "Good man, Dennis." "I'm glad you're safe, Dennis." "Jesus, thought he was dead." "Thanks, boss. Me too." She doesn't break eye contact with the panel. "Almost done," she replies. Suddenly, without warning, a shot ricochets off the wall behind Amy's head. Startled, we look around, confused. Did Dennis's gun go off? When another shot blasts near us again, we all drop to the floor. I look around wondering who or what could possibly be shooting at us. Those creatures don't do anything that sounds remotely like gunfire. And then I see him. Marcus. I should have killed him when I had the chance. He has a rifle and is walking towards us, an insane look in his eyes. "You all deserve to die," he screams, unleashing another round that I hear whiz by my head. Dennis doesn't hesitate. He stands up and shoots at Marcus, causing him to retreat. Let's see. "How much longer, Amy?" "Fucking Marcus." "Almost there," she says quietly. She makes a few final key presses and says, "Done." The doors open with the noise of hydraulics and a whoosh of air. With Marcus pinned down by Dennis's gunfire, we start moving towards the door. At that moment, another creature jerks into existence around the corner, between us and Marcus. "Shit," Marcus says, and starts unloading into it, but then he learns the same lesson we did. This only slows the creature down. Marcus gives us one last look, then turns and runs off in another direction. Dennis, Amy, and I climb up and head through the doors, moving on nothing more than adrenaline. I see her look longingly at the maintenance room Dennis took the shotgun from. "You get in the hangar, I'll get some more firepower." Satisfied with the plan, Amy heads through the door. We scramble inside, finally inside the hangar. Dennis approaches from behind, holding several guns and looking like a kid who crammed an armful of Halloween candy. Amy reaches out for a 9mm with one hand. Dennis turns to me and holds out a shotgun and a handgun for me to choose with. Both look deadly. The shotgun looks more powerful, but the handgun will probably be more precise. Dennis already has the shotgun. He's good with that. That's his baby. I'll take the handgun. I select the handgun and am comforted by the way it seems to fit perfectly in my shaky grip. There's more creatures coming, as many as a dozen. They're floating down the hall quickly, their tentacles slithering. The way their light seems to mingle together is almost beautiful. "Close the door," I yell at Amy. She dashes to another terminal mounted on the inside of the hangar door and tries desperately to close them. "It's not working," she says with tears in her eye. "This terminal is disabled." Dennis looks through the open doors, readying himself to shoot at the first monster that nears us. Should we try to slow a few down or just run for it, he asks, gun at the ready. If we slow them down, there's a chance. I'm not gonna make the mistake. Oh, I don't know. Should we? It looks like... Oh, fuck. So the terminal is disabled. There's no way shooting at him is gonna give us enough time, like, to close it. So I say we just go for it. Good idea, says Amy. With that, we turn around and sprint out onto the hangar floor. Best not to waste ammo, I guess. I learned that lesson. The room is enormous, so large that to call it a room seems silly. A large concrete floor stretches out below an expansive lofted ceiling. The area is mostly empty, except for one side which has rows and rows of metal barrels. Back on the far wall is a lit area that seems to expose more rooms, labs, and machinery. Also in the rear of the hangar, I can see some kind of chamber or control center. Dennis and I follow Amy across the hangar floor. Behind us, a series of rough, slithering sounds tells us that the creatures have made their way into the hangar. From somewhere up ahead, a loud buzzing noise sounds out. It reminds me of the slight buzzing noise I had heard in the forest, the noise that got me into all this trouble in the first place. I look ahead and see that in the far back of the hangar, a bright red light is flashing. There's a small hatch or door below the light. That hatch is open, I can see a shape inside of it. I can barely make out the figure of a man standing there, holding an industrial microphone. As soon as I see him, I hear his huge, amplified voice. It blares down over an intercom system and he sounds pissed. I don't know who the hell you are, he says, but this is a government facility on lockdown and there are protocols to shit. I assume the curse coincides with the exact moment he sees the creatures. They're making their way through the hangar doors. There are maybe 20 feet between us and the creatures. I act instinctively, firing twice as the handgun comes alive in my hand. One shot goes into the core of one monster, causing it to jerk backwards. Another shot slows down a creature. The accuracy I get with the 9mm is amazing. Amy and Dennis take the cue and start firing as well. The floor becomes littered with a swirling white fluid from the wounded creature's body, but they are not slowing down. The alarm keeps shrieking behind us, and when I turn to see if anything has changed back there, I trip over my feet. I hit the ground hard and in an almost comic fashion slide several feet across the floor. From the ground I see what we've managed to turn back 4 of them. But I also see that my estimate of a dozen is off. There are at least 20 of them. Their sick, dim light, sinister and gloomy. Their appendages seem to bind together as they come forward. My only hope of survival is that the man in the far doorway has somehow shuts the hangar doors. His voice comes blaring over the intercom again, broken by the booming noise of the gunfire we're laying down. Run here, towards the isolation chamber. I'm not sure how much time we have. I realize I can sprint ahead of Amy and Dennis, or I can hang back and give them cover. I'm gonna keep shooting to cover the others. Dennis can't run. He's still injured. I have to remember that. Go inside where that guy is. I'll make sure we don't have any of those things right on our tails. I'll hold them back for a while. I know it sounds macho, but it also feels like the right thing to do. I have to at least try to give us some kind of chance to escape. So as Amy and Dennis run through the doors, I blast the next thing that I see moving. All I get for my troubles is that static-like hiss and a high-pitched whistling noise. I'm able to beat them back a bit, forcing them to scatter. Each flicker of light is a small victory. If nothing else, I'm buying Amy and Dennis time. When I'm certain there's nothing more I can do, I turn and run. I hustle, quickly catching up to Amy and Dennis, who stop and turn to provide me with cover fire. There, Amy says, pointing to the small door where the man was standing earlier. The swarm is less than 15 feet away, so furious that they're pushing through one another to get to us. I raise the handgun and fire, taking my time to aim. I hit one in the spider-like part of its body. I fire again, this time taking one in the core. I place 2 more rounds into this creature, eventually causing it to move backwards. We're in the middle of the hangar floor now, with the isolation chamber ahead and the monsters behind us. Beside me, Dennis also fires. The kick of the gun jolts him, probably a result of him being weakened from the blood loss. His shot lands true, though, causing a jerking stumble and a flickering of its light. We're almost in, Amy yells as we get close to the door. We hope will save us. Dennis and Amy, get in that fucking door. Get inside, I tell Amy and Dennis, motioning for them to get moving with my gun. I open the door and give Dennis a push towards it. He resists, more eager to try taking down another one of the beasts before he makes it to safety, but eventually gives in. I wait a beat to make sure Amy is inside too. I fire off a few rounds on the creatures that are still headed for us, hoping to slow them down. When Amy and Dennis clear the door, I nearly dash inside, but then feel something hot seep into my back. "Roger!" Dennis yells. The pain in my back is so immense that I barely notice the fact that I'm being lifted from the floor. I look down and see that one of the creatures is using its floating arms to grab me by the waist, its tentacles wrapping around me. It lifts me into the air, as if presenting me as a trophy to its friends. I try to focus, attempting to angle my arm in a way that will allow me to aim the handgun and place a bullet in its body. But it's shaking me violently, and its other parts are appearing and disappearing in a way that makes no sense. Another oddity of its structure. I can literally do nothing more than hang there like a rag doll, hoping to be saved. As it continues to hoist me up, screeching its approval, Dennis comes back out of the room and fires off a shot. The bullet catches the monster on the underside of its core, sending it backwards and causing it to freeze for a moment. It releases me and I hit the ground, dropping my gun and again finding myself unable to breathe. I feel slightly dizzy, but that fades when I see Dennis is still standing outside the door. He's firing into the beast like a madman and doesn't see the one to his left, coming along the edge of the wall. See, push him out of the way. Gotta push him down. No time to call out to him. I try to dash towards Dennis to put them out of the way, but there's not enough time. Oh no. The creature jerks out of existence and then reappears right behind him. By the time Dennis turns and sees the creature coming, it's already drawn several appendages back to strike. Dennis tries to raise his gun, but it's knocked away by one of the tentacles. A second tentacle strikes, and Dennis is spun around and thrown off balance by the attack. Dennis catches himself before falling. The third tentacle wraps around Dennis's forearm, and I can see it squeeze, tightening instantly. The tip of the appendage passes clean through his hand, its blood-soaked tip poking out through his palm. Dennis's face grimaces with pain as he tries to wrench his arm free, but the creature's tentacles has his hand speared, like a nail through wood. In a moment of dark clarity, I realize that I can free him with a clean shot at the monster's tentacle, but it will likely mean blowing Dennis's hands off. "Dennis," I yell over the creatures, "can you get free? I have a shot. Maybe." "No, don't shoot. I can get free." As the creature tosses around by his hand like a puppet. I can't tell if he's right, but the other monsters are starting to encircle him. I need to act fast. I'm gonna shoot Dennis's hand off. Dennis, I'm not gonna lose Dennis. I'm not gonna lose Dennis. I'm gonna take action here. I'm gonna shoot your... Sorry, Dennis. If I don't take the shot while I have it, they're going to kill him. In a last-ditch effort, I try getting a good shot on the monster, but there is none. I'll hurt Dennis even worse if I try. I take aim and fire off a shot. The shot lands perfectly and results in a lot of blood and screams from both Dennis and the creature. Dennis's hand disappears into a spray of red, and the monster's appendage simply fades away. It literally seems to wink out of existence. The creature screeches while Dennis hits the floor, wailing in pain. The reality of what I've done sets in and nearly paralyzes me. "Get him," Amy says. "I'll cover you." I nod, reeling from the sight of what I've done to Dennis. I stumble out of the door. Amy is true to her word. She fires off a few rounds into the approaching monsters as I make it to Dennis. I grab a hold of him with my good arm. I drag him backwards as fast as I can, nearly falling down in the process. When I reach the doorway, Amy reaches down and helps me drag his body the final few feet into the room. She manages to pull off another shot, and when I look to see what she's hit, I see another dozen or so of the monsters. Dennis is writhing in pain. When he looks up at me, he's sneering. "You crazy asshole," he screams. He shudders violently, sweat and tears coursing down his pale face. Amy slams the door behind us. Finally, we're inside the room, hopefully safe within what looks like to be an isolation chamber of sorts. Along the frame, a little electrical lock beeps as the door is secured. End of chapter 4. There is no way I am not gonna shoot off his hand. Like, fuck no. If you are one of my good friends, at least in a survival scenario, you're one of my good friends, I am not gonna let you risk being torn to pieces in front of my eyes when I could frickin' shoot you in the hand and... Oh, man. Oh, boy. And it's a good thing I had the handgun because that's the only way that I could have been accurate. Okay, so let's do a post-mortem of all these different things. Self-control. Players shot to weaken the creature, not to kill it, because there was no point in killing it. I learned that I couldn't kill it from me shooting at it before, so there was no point in me even trying. Keep them at bay. 41% of players distracted the creature instead of shooting it. Again, can't waste my ammo. I didn't have any left. Weapon of choice, preferably, Dennis was Shotgun Man. And, you know, maybe he can use a shotgun with a stump arm and another good hand, but, you know, I did what I had to do there. And especially on the judgment call, He was dangling in air. They were looming over him. How in the world would he have gotten away from that? There's no way an injured man like that would have gotten away. He would have been killed. Or maybe he wouldn't have. I have no idea. I'm not going to take that risk. You know what I mean? I'm just not going to do that. We're now inside a large reinforced chamber of sorts, almost like the inside of a submarine. Near us is the door, shut tight. Far away from us along the back wall are all sorts of controls and monitors. It seemed clear that this metal door is impenetrable. At least to them. I'm fairly sure that they aren't getting in. Dennis looks like a walking corpse, and I do everything in my power to not let this show in my expression. His face is a grimace. He shouts at me, "To hell with you." What were you thinking? Blood pools on the floor below wherever he holds his arm. I say nothing. It's all too much. My brain feels like jelly. We need to get him help, or he's going to bleed to death, Amy says. We're interrupted by a man's voice booming behind us. "Just what in the hell do you think you're doing?" the man roars. He's an older man who seems to exude power and authority, but he also looks tired and scared. I assume this is Barksdale. He walks over to us from the back recesses of the chamber. "We didn't have a choice," Amy responds. "We had to. Did you override the locks on the hangar door?" "Yes, I did, but we had to. Do you have any idea what you could have done?" Amy doesn't answer right away. She's furious, but she's also scared and visibly quiet and exhausted. "I'm gonna ask who this is. Who is this?" I address my question to Amy, preferring to get my info from her rather than whoever this is. The man doesn't break eye contact with Amy. "Colonel Barksdale. He runs the place," she says, annoyed. "Look, Barksdale," she says, "you can berate me and lecture me all you want when this mess is over. But right now, I have a wounded civilian here, and as you can see, several entities trying to get into this room. So if you could actually do something instead of sitting on your throne and yelling at me, that would be great." I'm impressed by her guts and wonder if there's some sort of beef between the two of them. Surely working in a place like this could cause some stress and tension between people. As we wait, I notice a small peephole in the door. I go to it and look out to the things. They're still looking for a way in, but finding no success. I wonder if they can sense or somehow see me through the door. "Flip them the bird. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. Middle finger defense." I can't help myself. I hold my middle finger up to one and smile defiantly. I get a blast of high-pitched sound in response. "You'll be reprimanded for speaking to me in such a way," Barksdale says to Amy. "Reprimand me all you want. I'd like to survive this first." "Cover your ears," Barksdale shouts, walking away towards the far end of the room. "Stay put until you hear back from me." "Thank you," Amy says with fire in her voice. She then turns to me and says, "Better do what the man says." "Yep, I'm not going to question. I'm going to cover my ears." I clap my hands over my ears just in time to protect my hearing from the deafening blast. I'm still bleeding, and the sudden movement to cover my ears makes me feel dizzy. Dennis clumsily covers one of his ears with his hand and one with his bandaged arm. When I see the shape he's in, I get myself in check. Compared to Dennis, I'm in tip-top shape. I did that. I took the shot that took off his hand. I need to make all of that mean something. More bursts of a loud explosive noise start to ring out. Looking through the peephole again, I see the core of one of the beasts explode. It vanishes in a puff of smoke and clear liquid. Looking to my left, I see Barksdale in a shooting stance at the far end of the room. He's firing through a small slit in the wall. He's using some high-powered weapon, the likes of which I've never seen. I see a slight movement as the gun kicks, accompanied by a flicker of white light. Immediately, another monster is downed, its tentacles flailing around aimlessly as most of its core is torn through. I instantly feel gratitude and an immense satisfaction in knowing that they're being picked off in such a way. I think we need to sit down and rest. Just one little bit of a breather. I slide down against the door and simply wait, listening to the occasional patter of what I can assume is their blood on the wall. I don't know how much time passes, maybe 5 seconds, maybe 5 minutes. And I don't care. It feels nice to lay down, even with the sensation of blood rushing from my hurt shoulder. When the firing is over, I barely even notice it. Soon after, Barksdale walks back over to our side of the room. "They're all gone," Barksdale says, "and I have resealed the hangar doors." "How'd you kill them like that?" I ask. "Classified weapons that quite frankly you have no business being near." Amy gets to her feet and returns to the panel on the wall. "Thanks. How badly are the civilians hurt?" Barksdale asks. "One is in very bad shape. He's lost a hand and a lot of blood. The other is not too bad. I see a laceration on his back and that's about it." "Okay, I'll have Strickland get a med kit." "Strickland survived?" Amy asks, sounding hopeful. "Yes, and until you and your friends showed up, I thought we were the only ones. Hang tight, she's on her way." With that said, he retreats away to the back of the room as if he can't stand to be around us. Amy approaches me and looks me over. "You're in good hands. Strickland will be able to fix you up." "Is she a doctor or something?" Sort of. She's also a physicist, but oddly enough, she spent time as a trauma nurse in the army. Is Strickland a friend of yours? Yeah, we've known each other for a while. The only women in a sea of overachieving men. You must be glad Strickland survived. Focus on the good, not the negative. I am. We usually have lunch together, and she's helped me out with a few tight spots in my career. Within a few seconds, the door behind us opens and a woman appears back further into the chamber. She enters the room with what looks like a small suitcase. She's dressed in a very basic way and drab military getup, complete with a holstered sidearm. My name is Connie Strickland, she says. I can patch you guys up pretty well, but it's gonna hurt. She looks closely at Dennis, looking him over with precise care and attention. You're not in the best shape. He responds in a grunt. Seriously, I can fix you up, but only temporarily. You need intensive care for that arm. First things first, though. Strickland pours a liquid over his maimed arm and starts stitching. She then wraps his arm with 3 entire spools of gauze. Blood shows through right away. That's the best I can do for now, she tells him, giving him a sympathetic frown. I could care less, Dennis mutters. I'm a cripple. Do whatever you want as though it matters. Strickland then looks at me. Sit down and let's see if we can get your shirt off, she says. I sit down slowly and start unbuttoning my shirt. She has to help me slip it off my shoulder, but we manage. How bad is it, I ask. Bad. It's almost like a burn, but I've seen much worse. Your friend here, for example. I might as well talk to Strickland, if only to distract from the pain. You're a scientist too? Strickland rolls her eyes as she gathers up a needle and some thread. I was always into fringe science. I started in labs where the eccentric Russian scientists were being funded by the US to work on combining DNA types. I sort of became obsessed with perfecting human physiology while I was a trauma nurse in the army. You were a mad scientist then? I get that a lot, but no, not compared to the stuff we do here. I don't even want to know. Frankly, I've learned enough. You sound like my mother, Strickland says. She wants to make sure I'm safe and cared for. She knows my job is sort of dangerous, but of course I can't tell her any details, so she just worries. Any other family, I ask? No, she says as she works on me. I'm a workaholic, no husband, no kids, it's always been my job. And until about a month ago, I loved it. What happened a month ago? That's when the teams were stumbled upon onto what they thought was a big discovery, Amy says, answering for Strickland. Yeah, Strickland said, that big discovery resulted in 20-hour workdays. I've been sleeping in my office for about a week now. When you guys ran in here, I was horrified. Those barrels outside, I'm not sure if you saw them, but if you'd shot them, it could have been bad. Why, I ask? The gray ones are filled with an experimental fuel that's highly flammable. The yellow ones contain liquid nitrogen. What? Just laying around? Well, this area is the safest in the building, the most secure. Well, it used to be anyway. And take this, she says, handing me 4 pills, painkillers. They won't work immediately, but they'll dull the worst of what you're feeling. Are these the best idea? Won't they make me dizzy or out of sorts or something? All I get in response is an annoyed and determined look. I'm gonna hold off. Because if Dennis made it this far in so much pain, I can take a little more. I'll hold off. I'm gonna hold off. I don't need him that bad. Really, I say. I don't want to get lightheaded in case we have to move fast. I can handle it. Your call, Strickland says as she starts working on me. She slathers the wound in some sort of liquid that stings like crazy and I gasp. Ouch! Owie! Oh! Ow! My wound! My interdimensional wound! Yeah, best not to complain when Dennis is there. Ready to stab me yet? I'm fine, I hiss. I wince as she dabs at my eye, swollen from where Marcus kicked me. I grit my teeth in pain and try to catch my breath. Dennis comes out of his haziness and tries to speaking to Strickland, but his words are slurred. White light from the ground, Dennis says. You think that caused the power outage? Think that brought monsters out? Could be, Strickland says, but your crew is far enough away from the facility, or at least we thought you were. Dennis chuckles in a way that makes him sound menacing. Nope. Wrong. You thought wrong. So you and Barksdale is the only survivors? It seems that way. Those that didn't disappear into thin air were killed by those things, Strickland says, nodding to the secured door. How many were killed? I'm guessing 30 or so. I'm not sure how many were scheduled to come in today. I'm glad to see you. Where were you when it happened, Amy asks. I was in the micro lab on level 2, Strickland replies. Park and O'Brien were in there with me and they just disappeared. It looks like they were being stretched, distorted, and then there was a ball of white light and they were gone. The ball of light just annihilated everything it touched. Would it leave a perfectly round hole, I ask, a light bulb turning in my head? We saw some of those up at the logging site. Yeah, and I saw a ball of white too. That was probably the same phenomenon. Amy looks at the ground like a child that is afraid to ask an adult for something. Finally, she asks, "Where did they go?" "We don't know," Strickland says. "It could be an infinite number of different dimensions, or even some dimensions that merge and mix together. It could also be a place that exists between dimensions. Barksdale calls it the void. I'd call it dead." "No, we keep tabs on the heart rate, blood pressure, and breathing of all the rats and human test subjects. Wherever they go for that time, they're still very much alive." I wince through the rest of Strickland's stitching. That is fascinating. Feeling the tug of my skin, but thankfully no more flowing blood. Strickland finally says, "You're good to go." She looks over Dennis one more time. He doesn't so much as stir when he rechecks her work. She's already having to remove the gauze on his wrist as it's soaked through with blood. The wound looks like it's starting to clot, so that's good at least. I stare at the floor as Strickland does what she can. "Will he make it?" I ask. I'm not a doctor, not really. But based on the bit that I know, I'd say it's about 50-50 right now. "So have you and Barksdale been able to contain all those creatures?" Amy asks. Strickland appears shocked, clearly not the reaction Amy was expecting. "Contain? Are you nuts? Do you not know what's happening?" Amy's eyes widen in fearful confusion. "What do you mean what's happening? Other than the initial experiment failure? The anomalies are becoming more numerous and further from the source," Strickland says. The casual humor in her voice is gone. "Further from the source? Are they everywhere now?" "From the location of the original experiment. The experiment caused the first doorway to open, but it set off a chain reaction. They're gaining momentum along geodesics emanating from the facility. It's these pockets of exotic matter and negative energy that are letting those things in." "What the hell does that mean?" "It means," Amy chimes in, "that those doorways and monsters are starting to appear all over the facility, maybe even the surface. Not yet, luckily, but the doorways will start appearing on the surface, and it won't stop there. The anomaly's reach could extend infinitely as far as we know. Those entities will appear on the surface in other states, other countries." "Holy shit," I say. "You mean the world is going to be overrun?" The horror of the past few hours has made me ready to believe anything, but this is almost too much. "Unfortunately, yes." "My God," Amy says, stepping away. "Isn't there anything that we could do?" "There is a last resort," Strickland says, her eyes darting over Barksdale at the back of the room. "There's an emergency failsafe switch." "What?" Amy says. "I never heard of that. Where?" "You weren't cleared for it. And that switch is a way to stop this?" "Yes," Strickland says, seeming uneasy with the conversation. "What does the switch do?" "The switch is our eraser. It destroys the entire facility and terminates any systems or experiments that are being conducted. It's also an emergency shutdown for interdimensional travel. It puts an event horizon around the facility." "What the hell is that? Is that a black hole?" "It's the perimeter of a black hole, the boundary inside which nothing can escape, not even light. But there's two problems with hitting the switch. So the first problem is we'd all be killed, sucked into a black hole before we'd have time to evacuate. The second reason is that Barksdale won't allow it." "What? Why not? He wants to allow those things to flood the surface? Thousands, millions will die." Strickland puts her hand up, silencing Amy. They both peer over to the far side of the room where Barksdale has his back turned. I know. He says he doesn't care. He says he'll be happy to be rid of the oversight so he can continue his work." "The oversight?" Amy almost screams, regaining control of her voice when Strickland gives her another look of warning. "You mean our government?" I ask. "He's aware this could disrupt, even topple our government, and he doesn't care." "Barksdale is, well, he's off the range now. He's gone rogue and he's armed." This comment makes me look towards the handgun I brought in with me. I'd nearly forgotten it in the last few moments. While Barksdale has his back turned, I take it in my hands and slide it behind me. Just in time, too, as Barksdale walks over from the back of the room to our side of the chamber. He gives Strickland a suspicious look before speaking to her. "Are the two civilians going to survive?" he asks. Dennis chuckles at this, and I'm revealed to see that his eyes are open. He gives a lazy thumbs up. "One is stitched up and good to go, but the other here is in bad shape. He needs immediate medical attention." "Understood," Barksdale says. "Amy, it's quite nice to see that you have survived. Were there any others?" The aloof way this asshole is talking to us is getting under my skin. "A guy named Marcus that works on the first level from IT. That's all I know for sure. Marcus Pabscott. Where is he?" "We're not sure. He was separated from us." "Oh," Barksdale replies, clearly taken aback by my stern reply. "That's unfortunate." Barksdale seems to think about something and then looks directly at me. "You're with the logging crew, aren't you? Remind me, how did you get in here again? We were searching for our crew. Ah, makes sense. The cloaks for the entrance shed are tied to a primary source, Barksdale says, and we lost primary power before the experiment failed. Cloak, I ask? Yes, Strickland says. The shed you entered is usually not visible to the naked eye. Depending on the power sources that were damaged, Barksdale continues, it could have also shut down the locking systems before backups kicked in. Everything is starting to make sense now. From the very start, it seemed peculiar that we'd so easily been able to walk into a place like this. What caused the experiment to fail? Your crew hit one of our main power lines. We aren't sure exactly how, but we know that's what did it. You're trying to blame all this on me? The timing was unfortunate. Where's the rest of our crew? So it was us. Your crew? Frank and Joe? They're gone. Gone? Gone where? They were annihilated by antimatter pockets created during the failure. A bright ball of light destroyed them. In the aftermath, all you'd see would be a round hole in the ground. Barksdale says this like he's sharing yesterday's sports scores. I let my face crumble into my hands. I'd suspected this. All this time, and they were already dead. Behind me, Dennis lets out the beginning of a sob. Damn it. Damn it, he mutters over and over. So, Amy asks, what do we do now? Now it's time to continue our work, Barksdale says calmly, turning away to the instruments near the wall. You're insane. That is very clear. You want to keep your little toys to yourself, I say, my teeth clenched, and you're willing to unleash those monsters on the world to do it? Indeed, Barksdale says. I want to continue my work. Other researchers will eventually discover what we have, sure. But I want it to be me. This is my laboratory. These are my experiments. The work I've led here will earn me my place in history. And quite frankly, I don't need to explain it to you. Up on the surface, they'll struggle to defend themselves. Since they won't know what they're dealing with, I have the necessary weapons. After a few months, who knows? Maybe I'll decide the world is ready for me to help them, and we'll go from there. Strickland steps up directly beside me and whispers in my ear. I wouldn't push him, she says. He's usually very logical, but this whole thing has pushed him somewhere else. He's, well, off. He turns his back to us as he says this, walking to the far side of the chamber, like we're some kind of distraction. Amy takes this opportunity to whisper to us. We need to hit that switch. It's the only option. What he's saying is murder, treason, genocide. She looks over to Strickland for support, trailing off. But Strickland looks to the ground, clearly torn. She won't look anyone in the eye and makes an effort not to look at Barksdale. He seems distracted with whatever instruments he's studying on the far side of the room. At this moment, I realize my body feels like a bomb went off inside it. Maybe those painkillers wouldn't have been so bad. Strickland finally whispers a response. Even if we decide that we want to hit that switch, Barksdale won't allow us. You can figure something out, right? Maybe you guys could make a break for it, Strickland whispers. Where's the switch located? There's an elevator out in the hangar. Take it to the basement. The switch is at the end of a long tunnel. But Strickland never finishes. Two things happen at once she speaks, her mouth stopping in mid-sentence. First, a loud booming noise rings out, and then the top of her head seems to explode. Amy screams out in surprise, and Dennis and I jump back in shock as Strickland's body collapses beside me. Behind her fallen body, Barksdale is holding his experimental rifle, and now he's pointing it at us. Holy fucking shit. The music is way too calm for that. My God. Oh God. That's not good. Holy shit. I wonder if Barksdale is even crazier than Marcus. He just shot a woman that worked for him to keep her quiet. Surely he won't have an issue with killing me. Now, Barksdale yells, no more whispering, no secrets. You three will stay in here and get away from that door. If anyone whispers one more time, I'll blow your heads off. My mind is racing to figure out a way to get through the secured door and into the hangar. Beyond that, of course, there's a failsafe switch. Insulting Barksdale might not be the best idea. Make a distraction, maybe? I try my best to be a good actor as I wobble to my feet a bit. I stop, start forward again, and then wobble some more. Amy is apparently catching on because she's at my side in a second. She looks over at Barksdale. He's lost a lot of blood. Let me check his wounds real quick. After he dared to talk to me like that, he's been through a lot. He's clearly delusional. Dennis seems to not quite know what's going on, but luckily Barksdale isn't paying attention to him. You can check him back here. You'll have 30 seconds to get away from that door, or I will... I stretch out my acting skills and actually stumble to a knee. I make a show of trying to get to my feet and still stand still for a moment. I'm okay. I think as quickly as I can, I raise my gun and fire. I don't even take aim, I just fire in Barksdale's general direction. Barksdale takes off running as my shot misses wide. He runs for cover to the back of the room. That's all we need. Amy fires a shot to keep him under cover as we head for the door. Amy pushes a button and the door swings open. Barksdale will be on us in a second, so we dash out into the hangar, ready to defend ourselves. I can't believe he just killed Strickland. There must be something going on that is driving people insane, because Marcus and Barksdale seem to be very off color. Like, it just seems like something is very wrong. All three of us run as fast as we can get through the row of barrels. Right away, though, Barksdale gunfire separates us. I hear a shot hit nearby as I dive down, and realize that neither Dennis nor Amy is with me. I hear Amy cry out from somewhere else in the barrels. Peering around the barrels closest to me, I can see Dennis. He's crawling slowly on the floor, 2 rows away from me. Seeing him move so slowly, I can't imagine how he's finding the strength to even do that. Stop this nonsense! I've got a good mind to shoot the fuel and kill all of you! It's then that I realize that not getting away from him, these barrels may be our death sentence. Well, I mean, there's like either a selfish thing or a not selfish thing, but I'm gonna tell them to get away. I'm trying to be good here. Before I can do anything, a shot comes from the isolation chamber. It's immediately followed by a pinging sound and a massive wall of heat. I feel the heat before I feel the force of the explosion. It occurs several rows ahead of me and I can still feel the physical push of it. I hear Dennis scream and the clanging of metal. That's when another barrel explodes and then another, and I realize I could run back and help or try to get myself clear. Well, I gotta help. I might not have enough time to do either before the next round of eruptions. What the hell should I do? I've gotta help them. I can't not help them. My instinct to help overcomes my instinct to survive. If I don't help them now, the exploding barrels will leave Dennis and Amy as good as dead. I turn and start heading their way, but I'm not quick enough. Another barrel blows up between us and throws me back across the hangar floor. My face and arms scream with the unimaginable pain of deep burns as I'm lifted from the ground and tossed forward by the explosion. I slowly muscle myself up off the ground and try to regain my footing. My entire body feels sore, begging me to just stop. When I look back for Dennis and Amy, the scene is not promising. Neither of them seems to be able to move on their own. Dennis is lying flat on his face, unmoving. Amy is about 20 feet away from him. She's wailing in pain and clutching her leg. Behind them, I can see Barksdale looking for another shot through the fire and evaporated liquid nitrogen. I fire off a single shot just to get him to duck behind a barrel. I look back and find Dennis and Amy and see the fire nearing the fuel barrels. I can maybe keep Barksdale pinned down long enough to pick them up one by one and help them walk to the elevators, but more barrels could blow at any moment. I might only have time to save one of them. Oh no! Oh no. I have to pick? Dennis is... I'm not even looking at this from like, I know Dennis, I know Amy's standpoint. Like, Dennis is the one who is hurt more. I don't even... God damn it. Fuck! Ugh! You chose to help Dennis first. I take a deep breath and sprint back out into the open among the fire and heat. Right away, I start taking blind shots at Barksdale. He fires back only once and the shot goes off into the growing flames around me. I take one more shot and then reach down for Dennis. He's basically dead weight at this point. He's almost too heavy for me. My wounded shoulder screams in pain as I get him to his feet. I drag him back, narrowly avoiding the fire and death. I try shooting at Barksdale, but trying to keep the gun... aim the gun while carrying Dennis proves to be too much. Barksdale gets a single shot off as we round the corner to where the elevator waits. I set Dennis down, and he's still unresponsive. Drenched in sweat, I reel around and head back to get Amy. I only make it a single step before I see her. I open my mouth to call to her, but an explosion right beside her cuts me off. She's shoved hard to the left from the force of the explosion. I run to help, but Barksdale is firing at me again. I give Amy one last regretful look and then rush back to the elevator and Dennis. My nerves are drenched in fear and adrenaline. When I reach out to press the call button on the elevator, it feels like I'm watching someone else do it. As Dennis and I step inside, the motors on the elevator squeal like dying dogs. It's an old service elevator made of wood and metal, like something from a coal mine. As the elevator slides down, the light from the flames give way to complete blackness, and now it's just me and Dennis once again. Good God! The fuck is happening? Man, this is fucking ridiculous. This is fucking insane. There's gotta be something with this event that is driving people mad. I lose track of how long the elevator descends. It's hard to tell due to the lack of lighting, but it must go down another 500 feet underground. The elevator comes to a stop with a shuddering clang, and I waste no time exiting. A tunnel stretches out with sparse white bulbs lighting the way. Most of the wall is made from raw earth and rock, but there are boards and concrete slathered in areas used to reinforce the tunnel. I see a warning sign posted on the wall. I want to read it, but there's not much time. I gotta read the notice. I mean, what's really gonna keep me up? I mean, he's 500 feet up. Gotta read at least. Warning, authorized personnel only beyond this point. Trespassers will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Absolutely no exceptions. Well, glad to get out of that way, now that everyone is dead. After only a few steps, the pain in my body intensifies. How stupid was I to turn down those painkillers? I mean, it would have made me slow! I look up, and when I see that the tunnel ceiling is less than 6 inches over my head, claustrophobia freezes for a moment. The ceiling is not high, and there's barely enough room for Dennis and me to walk side by side. His eyes are half closed, and he looks on the verge of passing out again. It's okay, I tell him. We're almost done. A little further, okay? He shakes his head and says, I'm sorry, Roger, but I don't think I can go any further. I lower him to the floor as easily as I can and let him rest. I'll be back, I tell him, hoping it's true. The switch should be down here somewhere. I give Dennis one last look and then start down the tunnel ahead of me. I look up, and when I see that the tunnel ceiling is less than 6 inches over my head, claustrophobia freezes me for a moment. Still, it's much better than facing the monsters above me. Why are things repeating again? I wonder then, walking through the darkness, where they came from. Is the portal still open? I keep walking into the darkness, and within 5 minutes, the glow of the red light from the elevator is diminished. It's almost completely dark. I hold the gun in one hand and reach out to touch the wall with my other. Feeling the gun in my palm anchors me to reality, to sanity. I am not in some boundless abyss, but still in the real world. For a little while longer, at least. I recognize that I'm marching to my end. As much as I wish I weren't, it's not surprising. From the moment that I saw those creatures could do to time and space, at least a part of me knew that death was inevitable. Before I have time to wonder what will happen, I see a light ahead. It's nothing more than a speck of blue light, but in the darkness of the tunnel, it's like a lighthouse on a stormy sea. I slog forward, my eyes straining to focus on what little light ahead. From somewhere ahead, I start to hear something that sounds like water. It's trickling lightly, like a leaky faucet. And behind that, there's something that sounds like wind, a light breeze, an open field, and a voice. Anywhere else, the sounds would have been pleasant, but here in the blackness of the tunnel, they are menacing. Well, that's not to break character. I keep shouting at the darkness through this whole story. Hello? Hello? My voice doesn't echo like it should in this small space. This weirds me out even more than the lack of a response. I cock my head, trying to concentrate, and then I realize that I can see the tunnel walls now. This is odd, as I wasn't able to see them a few seconds ago. This is different from the blue light at the end of the tunnel. It's then that I see the slight shimmering in the air. It looks like a foggy mirror steamed over after a shower, and it's moving, dancing in the air like some abstract firefly. It's not menacing like the creatures, so that threat is null. It's peaceful, serene. I watch as this shimmer branches out and becomes 2, then 3, then 4. They snake out in different directions, tracing the tunnel walls. Are these shimmers the doors to another dimension that Strickland was talking about? Suddenly, I'm surrounded by light, above and below me, and I realize there's no avoiding it. The question is, how am I going to go through? All right, dive head first. That's me. I stick my head through and feel a tingling sensation, almost pleasant. I reach out slowly, my hand stretching out to one of those shimmers of what I can only assume are some kind of light. They're hypnotizing. So much so that I don't realize that the tunnel walls are vanishing. I feel something like wind, and a brief electrical pulse pass through me as the lights take me. There's then a very gentle pushing sensation, and I somehow know that I'm being expelled. I pass through something. Maybe the lights, maybe the tunnel walls, I don't know. But the shimmering lights fade a bit, still dancing in the air, but no longer large and branching out. And as my eyes adjust, I see right away that I'm no longer standing in that dark tunnel far beneath the hangar. I have no idea where I am. I'm just somewhere else. And I'm terrified. So are these like the lights that took... Whoa. Whoa! Are these like the lights that took everyone else? Did I just get taken? The ground I land on looks like hot coals. There are dips in many cliffs breaking the landscape ahead of me. There's a wash of orange and blue overhead in the sky that makes no sense. It's both beautiful and terrifying at once. A scattering of stars hang overhead, and they all seem to be breathing and pulsing with a gentle energy as if alive. I can't tell if there are clouds in the sky because everything about it, from the colors to the trembling horizon line, seems to be amorphous. Everything is knitted together, living. I stare a moment longer and can swear I feel the sky is breathing. Far off to my right, I see what looks to be a plume of fire. Small yet bright, with no source of fuel. It looks as if the ground itself is creating the flame. Several more of these flames dot the landscape further out. The air is thick and muggy. Then I realize something horrible. I don't know if what I'm breathing here resembles air at all. In a place like this, one of the impossible beauty, but also very stark horror. My mind doesn't know what to do. A wave of nausea comes over me and I think I might be sick. I'm not sure if it would be better to fight it or give in. The white light that brought me here is nowhere to be found. Is anyone else even here? Is there any way to escape? Well, better continue my yelling! I take a deep breath of whatever otherworldly gas is filling this place and belt out as loud as I can. Hello! Hello! Is anybody here? I hear a voice in response. It's faint, distant. I turn and hear it coming from one of the massive crevices along the ground. Inside of that crack, about 10 feet down, a very pale man lies on a ledge. He's human, but looks close to death. He's in the center of a very large pool of blood, and his left leg has been twisted and torn in an unnatural way. As I walk to the ledge, he looks up and sees me. Help me, please, the man says. His eyes are wide, although everything about him speaks of weakness. He's close to death or insanity, or both. Who are you? I'm Dr. Kana. He strains to get out. I work in the facility. He's the one that disappeared and never came back in the experiments. Please, help. I want to know more, but it seems cruel to steal what looks like his last breath just answering my question. I'd love to, but I don't know where the hell I am or how to get back home. The light. It's a doorway. It might take you back to the facility. Where did it go? They come and go. They'll be back. Now please, help me. I desperately want to help, but there's no way I can reach him. His ledge is too far away, above the pools of fire. I don't think I can get to you. No, that's not what I meant. He replies. His eyes are on the handgun that I almost forget that I'm still holding. I realize what he wants and I shake my head. I can't, I say. I can't do that. Please, he pleads. Those things, they have the others that came here with me. I got dropped along the way. They'll be back. They'll be back and they'll kill me. That will be quicker and less painful. I can't, I repeat. Please, look at my damn leg. I'm dead anyway. I'm about to refuse him again when I hear an all too familiar static sound out from another crevice behind him. I hear another of those shrill noises and then watch as one of the creatures materializes up out of the neighboring crevice. Two more come out after that, then a third, then 5, then 10. Soon I lose count as what was just a few turns into a flood. And I suddenly understand the man's reasoning. A bullet would be a mercy. I check the gun and see that I only have 1 round left. I can use it on this guy, but I may need it for myself later. From beside me, the man pleads again. My God, he says. Please. Not a decision that I take lightly, but who knows how long he's been here. They said that experiment was like, what, a month ago? He chose to shoot the man. I look back to the man and wince. I know it's the right thing to do, but my finger resists. With a roar of disgust, I level the gun towards his head, turn my eyes away, and then pull the trigger. Your aim is true. The man crumples lifelessly to the ground. And that's when I see the shimmers wavering to my right, in the direction I originally came from. I look back to the monsters and see that they have now noticed me. Some of them begin floating up the walls of the crevice. There are less than 10 feet separating us. The shimmers of white light are within arm's reach, its movements reminding me of a fish in an aquarium. I reach out and feel myself accepted by them again. I feel the sensation of wind and wait for the feeling of being pushed out, back to the tunnel of this facility. But it doesn't come this time. This time I feel something else. I feel a tugging sensation that seems to want to drag me in all directions at once. As the world goes dark, I realize that I am somewhere else, and it is not the darkness of the tunnel. This is the darkness of a total void. Man, this story has taken us wild places. And it's fucking amazing. There is darkness around me everywhere. Nothingness. I feel nothing under my feet, nothing to my sides. I can't touch or sense anything at all. I don't even know which way is up or down. It's as though I am all that exists. And as I remain there, I just hear silence, not even the sound of my heartbeat. The blackness is so deep that I feel I can't distinguish my thoughts and what is real. I hear screaming, but I can't tell if it's someone else or my mind screaming to fill this void. And I'm going to cry out, because that's what I do. I hear my own shout in my head, but it doesn't seem to travel out in the abyss. It bounces in my head endlessly, like an echo down a long, ancient corridor. I assume this is the place that Strickland referred to. The place between dimensions. This darkness could consume me if it wanted to. I try to will myself out of it, to have those shimmering lights spit me out, but it isn't happening. At this point, my mind starts to hallucinate, or at least I think it does. Are they visions? My mind playing tricks on me? I can't tell. All I can do is watch. I see the logging site and Tony's legs still pinned under the dozer. I feel a pang of regret that I left him in such a state. I see myself talking to Dennis and he looks distraught as I tell him that Tony is gone. Then the scene rearranges itself and I'm standing between Dennis and Marcus's gun. It changes again and the shape of Marcus lies on the ground, still hell-bent on revenge, even after I let him live. In my mind, I'm sobbing as I shoot off Dennis's hand, trying to convince myself it was the only way to save him, but he'll never forgive me. I try to let out a scream as Dennis and I watch Amy get blown apart by the barrels, explosions. But there's still no sound. And just when I feel like I can't take any more of this, I see the man in that strange world begging for death. I watch as I take his life just before those beasts reach him. All of these things are flooding my mind and it feels like my brain is vomiting. Yet in the midst of it all, I see what's really important. The switch. In my mind's eye, I see that glowing light in the tunnel, the one far ahead, small and distant. I focus my mind on the tunnel and the image of that flickering light. With a mental effort so strong that it's nearly a physical motion, I make myself envision that little light in the tunnel as if it were right there in front of me. With that, I feel the wind again, a light breeze that seems to come from everywhere. And then with a relief that I can only imagine feels like death, I move forward. That was fucking insane. Oh, Jeebus. Oh my God. I'm ejected from the void and suddenly standing in the tunnel again. I let out a wail of triumph that turns into a bout of weeping. The weeping only intensifies when I see that light up ahead, a flickering blue light. Somewhere behind me, I hear a crackling noise. I can only hope they haven't reached Dennis, but it's too late to even worry about that. After coming this far, I'm not about to turn back. I feel like I can listen to get a better read on where they are, or I can just make a break for it. Try to listen. Best than to just sprint. I try my best to listen, attempting to figure out how far away they are. But the sound carries strangely down here. Right now, that static sound makes it seem like they're only about 30 yards away. Knowing my time is running out, I run as fast as my aching and confused body will allow, headed straight for the blue light. As I run, I see a different light, a white one flickering in my peripheral vision. It's another one of those shimmers that go to other worlds. It seems like they're appearing and disappearing with more frequency now. Strickland was right. These things could reach the surface soon, unleashing more monsters. This thought makes me refocus on the blue light, the man-made light, the switch. The blue light gets closer, and as it does, I can make out a square shape around it. This has to be it. The familiar static scream of the monsters is much closer now. I have to be quick. I grip the gun tightly, regretting my decision to use the last bullet on the man in the other world. Looks like all I'll be using this for is a bludgeon. I run ahead into the darkness, my eyes locked on the switch that I assume is going to kill not only the creatures, but myself as well. As I approach, I see the lever. It's covered by a glass box that I'll need to break. The blue light is directly beneath this, highlighting a series of tubes and wires that snake into the inner workings of the device. In the middle is blackness. Not like a darkly colored part of the machine, but just a hole in reality. It looks like some sort of illusion. All the while, I can hear the static of the creatures coming up dangerously close now. I have no idea how much time I have. Gotta press forward, smash that glass. I draw back the stock of the gun and smash through the glass box that houses the lever. The glass shattering is like music to my ears. I reach out for the lever, my hand grasping it. Without warning, I feel immense pain course through my body. It feels like fire racing down my back, causing me to fall to one knee in agony. There's only one of them, that I can see. It blasts horrible static noise at me as I ready my gun. With no bullets left, I get ready to use it as a club. I try to strike. The monster gun bats the gun away, wrapping it into an S shape, then follows up by swinging its appendages at me. The sting of its touch forces me back against the side of the cavern. My fist striking the wall hard. My jaw crunches and I feel a sharp pain encompass my head. Then the creature is upon me. Its tentacles melt into me and I scream. I can't help it. I sound like a wild animal. I can try to keep fending it off, or I can go for broke and just focus on the lever. Creatures be damned. I'm going for the lever. I put all my strengths into my legs. The moment that the monster in front of me draws back its eel-like arms to grab me, I pivot backwards. My back strikes the machine, sending agony rocketing through my body. I'm so thankful I broke the glass before this moment, before the coming violence. I stretch out and grab the lever. With one last desperate scream that shreds my voice, I jam it down. The tunnel is suddenly filled with a flash of intense darkness. It expands from the switch, swallowing the matter around it. At first, I'm sure this is the end of me. I expect the darkness to consume me, followed by death. But then another shimmer of dancing white light appears next to me. There are more of those streams of light, rips in space like the ones that previously sent me to the other ungodly world in the void. With nothing else to do but die, I try to escape into the shimmer. And that stream of light envelops me. The expanding darkness of the switch is gone, and I feel a huge push. What the fuck? Oh shit. Am I in space? My body feels stretched, collapsing, like I'm falling in all directions at once. The world goes white, and then there are pinpoints of stars everywhere. One of them breezes it directly by my right, and I see something that looks like a spiral galaxy distorted in its folds. To my right, I see an endless stretch of stars and gas clouds forming some galactic architecture. But beyond the immeasurable beauty, I notice something. I'm seeing the same star patterns over and over. They are repeating like reflections in an endless mirror. Are these different versions of the same galaxies, the same realities? To my left, I see a calm blue world and can barely make out trees. Familiar Kentucky freeze that I've been around for the last few weeks. To my right, I see a copy, an orange world where the trees are well, but something is strange, disturbing. As I zoom by, I'm not sure how much control I have in this unusual place. But if I can direct myself, it's worth trying. This is so weird. Me personally, I'm drawn towards the orange one because it's something new. I'm just weirdly drawn towards it. I don't know why. I try to focus my mind on heading towards the orange world, not knowing what to expect. My breath escapes me for a moment. Everything is dark and peaceful and nothing hurts. Yeah, I don't even know why. Because obviously the blue world is the familiar world that I came from. But this orange world is like, what's in there? Why does it exist? With breath back inside my body, I gasp and open my eyes. I'm back. Back at the logging site. How? I'm not sure. Did the shimmers react with the explosion of the switch? Some other accident? I have no idea. I sit up right away and become instantly dizzy. Dennis, I say. I have no reason to think that he survived whatever happened in the tunnel, but there's some sort of certainty that gets me to my feet. I wonder if I am somehow back in time, before we found the facility, but what happens next makes me realize that can't be true. As I start walking forward, I feel a tremor in the ground. Somewhere off in the distance, I hear a metallic groan. In the buried facility, it's being ripped apart under the ground by the activation of the switch. There's no way Barksdale and Marcus survived. Good riddance. I stumble a bit, and when I do, I see the body on the forest floor. Dennis. How is he here? Did he get caught in those shimmers as well? I decide I don't care and scramble over to him. Dennis, can you hear me? Yeah, he says, the slightest twitch behind his eyes, and for the moment that's good enough for me. To my left, through a tangle of partially destroyed trees and woodland, a pillar of smoke begins to rise into the air. We've made it out of the facility alive, and that, I suppose, is the most important thing. But something feels off in a way I can't explain. It's then, as I look up and notice the sky, that it starts to sink in. There's something different about it. Something not right. That sky does not belong here. It's a sky of oranges and blues. Stars pulse in and out as if alive. The colors of the sky seem to breathe, as if they're trying to inhale the tops of the spruce trees. I see those colors all knitted together and living. My stomach rolls and arises up in my throat. What the hell have I done? The end? What? Okay. Okay, let's talk about this. Tough It Out was logical because you don't want the painkillers clouding your judgment. Dennis has been with me the whole time. I can't leave him behind. And also, I didn't know for a certainty that it would kill one or the other. I don't know. And 30% of people killed the man. Or, yeah, not many people. And then very, very few people went to the orange world. And I don't know what that means. The choice between the blue and the orange world. They're like parallel dimensions, but one exists in the world where that weird on-fire hell landscape world was. The same sky, the oranges and blues, that was the same sky. The facility was still ripped apart, but what does that mean? Did I have control over the reality of what happened, or is this a parallel world where something has been changed? I don't know. But that's the end. Is there any sort of, oh, okay. Oh, no! That was amazing. That was an amazing story. That was just an unbelievably amazing story. I had the time of my life. It was like a book that I couldn't put down. It was so good and so weird and so confusing. What were the differences for my choices? They were so vast. There's a lot of choices that need to be made in this game, and I don't know how much of a vast impact it has on the actual ending, or what the ending fully means with the ramifications of what I have done. But I don't know. It's something that you guys have to find out for yourself. So if you want to play this and you want to make your own choices and you want to experience your own story with probably better choices than I made, but my choices were true to me, try it for yourself. I'll put a link in the description. But thank you everybody so much for joining me on this adventure. This was a ride. This was a wild ride. And I loved every second of it. So thank you everybody so much for watching. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye!